Hello everyone, a very heartiest evening to all the pretty little minds watching us today. Welcome you all to GDSC WOW 2021. I am Priyanshi Gupta, a co-team member at GDSC Vanastali Vidyapeeth.
And I am Arushi Rotela, also a core team member at GDSC Panasthili Vidyapeeth. And we are
And
your
we
hosts
are your
for the
hosts for
day.
the day.
We are super duper excited to see you all gathered here today and would like to extend our gratitude to our lovely audience for eagerly awaiting this session and joining us today. Don't you worry, we intend to keep you folks all the way interested.
And if this is indeed your very first time attending an event portraying the diversities in GDSC, then let me take a quick minute to guide you through it all. GDSC Wonder of Wonders, aka GDSC WOW, is a collaborative event of 200 plus GDSCs from India who have joined their hands together to bring students, developer, and communities under the same roof. This event will act as a platform to attain knowledge and work on projects with experts in real time. Plus, it will also help beginners to take a step forward in their technical career. So, can our audience guess what's the best place where imagination meets the technology of tomorrow? Go on, guys, we are waiting for your exciting replies.
For those of you who are able to guess it, it's correct. It is GDSC WOW 2021. This 3-day long virtual event consists of 3 days of speaker sessions, live coding, open source project webinars covering various topics of the latest technologies. Now, I know that sounds a little bit too cliched, doesn't it? Well, hold your horses because GDSC WOW has got a really fun and intriguing treasure hunt to be conducted throughout the 3 days for you all.
So, before we commence the much awaited event of all, I would like to hand over the screen to Google Developer Relation India team. Put your hands together for Karthik Padmanabhan, Tanvi Somani, Ananya R, and Nikita Gandhi. Welcome, team, to the first day of GDSC WOW 2021.
Only the fifth year in running. I still vividly remember when we launched it way back in Goa. And we started with 200 chapters and we have grown to 350 and fast growing. I'm so excited with the Google Developer Student Clubs, the growth it's able to provide, and more importantly, the opportunity it has had and the kind of impact it's delivered for the undergrad students in India. Lakhs of students have gone through this program. It has helped them to become better leaders, better at being industry ready. Their employability has gone up thanks to the Google Developer Student Club's curriculum and various programs and study jams we've been running. The great news is that it's grown over the last few years. Now we are present in 352 colleges. We have 352 Google Developer Student Club leads, and we are present in 100 cities. And they're all part of a global community comprising of over 1,500 leads. So it's a perfect platform for students to leverage to become better leaders, become industry experts, be industry ready, and increase their employability, and of course, amazing networking opportunity to learn and share and also have fun. So we've had an impact where we have more than lack of developers gain new skills, get certified in domains like Google Cloud, Android, and solve real world problems through programs like Solution Challenge. Many of you may actually be participating in the ongoing Solution Challenge 2022. All the best for you all in this. To add to this, I have some leads who have gone above and beyond by helping students find internship opportunities. All in all, it's an amazing program for all of you to participate in Google Developer Student Clubs.
That's not it. This year, we are planning to expand the reach to more and more campuses in India to provide these opportunities to many other students across the country. We, the Developer Relations India team, invite folks across the country passionate about creating an impact with their leadership skills to apply for the GDSC program. As a lead, you can build a community of students from your own campus who are passionate about learning new skills and enjoy developing applications that solve real world problems. Just like Karthik mentioned about the Solutions Challenge. This is a great opportunity to provide exclusive Google programs and valuable networking opportunities for the folks on your campus.
Wow, this is actually interesting. Where can I find more about this program?
Explore the Google Developers page to learn more about this program. You can go to developers.google.com and search for Google Developers Student Club under Developer Communities header. The link is also shared below on your screens. But Nikita, do you know how can I apply to be a GDSC lead?
So, the applications for the GDSC class of 2022-23 launch on 1st of March and will be open until 15th of April. I encourage all of you interested to go to the link that we have shared below starting 1st March and apply. After you apply, the shortlisted students will be invited for an interview starting mid-April, and the selected candidates will hear about their confirmation as leads via an email by the end of May.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing the timelines, Nikita. We'll be sharing all of this information periodically through our social media channels as well. So don't forget to follow Google Devs In channel on Twitter to know more about the program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, team, for joining in and for delivering your words of encouragement. It was a pleasure having you on board.
Flood the comment section, guys, to let us know how excited you folks are for the event. However, just like every event, we have a code of conduct that you all are requested to follow throughout the 3 days of the event. Number one, be nice, respectful, and constructive while interacting on the YouTube live chat and social media handles. Number two, do not post any adult content or rude or offensive statement. Number three, no advertisements and promotions are allowed.
Number 4, make sure you do not spam in the chat box. Number 5, harassment of any kind is not to be entertained during the entire event. In case one fails to follow this code of conduct, they would be barred from interacting on the chat for the future events. Number 6, report to contact@gdscwow.tech if you find anything inappropriate. All right, folks. Like it was mentioned before, we are going to conduct a treasure hunt throughout the 3 days. So, let me walk you through the guidelines for the same. Okay, the team would be sharing a Google form link with you all in the chat box right about now. You are requested to open the form and fill up the details. This form will contain a PDF link. Open the link that will redirect you to a password protected PDF. Once you click the PDF, it will get downloaded and you are required to submit it. The clue given during the sessions will act as a password for the password protected PDF. Listen very carefully to the sessions for the clues to the questions that will hover on the screen for a few minutes multiple times during the session. The answers to the questions in the pop up during the event will help you to unlock the next level's PDF using the same procedure as mentioned before. The new PDF will take you to the next level. This procedure continues till you reach the final level, that is level 5, consisting of the fifth PDF, which again consists of a Google form. Fill in all the details in that form so that you are eligible for the goodies.
I'm so sorry. Sounds exciting now. But here's the catch: the clue identification and the password should be entered within 30 minutes. That is the duration of each session. The Google form needs to be submitted on time. No late entries would be entertained, as the team is keeping the tabs on the same. If the answer to the clue is entered before the clue is mentioned, the participants will be declared ineligible. Also, duplicate entries won't be accepted. Participants must register for the WOW event prior to the treasure hunt.
Now, regardless, since we have got big brains in our audience today, there is no doubt that the hunt will take place as smoothly as ever. Right, Priyanshi?
I absolutely agree, Arushi. Now, I know you folks are super thrilled to get right into it. Trust me, so are we. But first, we would like to thank our title sponsor, Geeks for Geeks, for sponsoring us.
Geeks for Geeks is the world's most trusted interview preparation portal for tech aspirants. They have the biggest repository of tech content, and their daily traffic is 5 million. From delivering top notch content from their writers, as well as valuable contributions from their students, and imparting education via online courses, Geeks for Geeks plays a pivotal role in providing access to education to the budding coders across India. The entire GDSC WOW team is thankful for their support. I would also like to extend our vote of thanks to our platinum sponsor, Algo Zenith.
Making a mark in internship and placement tests needs more than basic coding skills. Algo Zenith brings training to help you upskill and build a more intuitive approach to coding. With live and recorded sessions, practice routines with doubt solving, mock contests and interviews with separate regimes for coding rounds, we have got you covered. Experts with top skills will chaperone you to success. Get the solution to ultimate training for competitive programming under one roof. Sign up with Algo Zenith today.
Alright. To step up this year's gratitude ladder, I would also like to thank our platinum sponsors, Mentro, and silver sponsors, Virtual Cyber Labs, Fluxus, Sketch, and Cascade. Thank you for enriching this event with your benevolent presence and support.
Guys, be attentive and keep an eye on the comment section. Do not miss any important links or clues for the treasure hunt. Alright, folks. Those of you excited, comment down hashtag GetSetWoW in the comment section and let's spark up the room and ignite the coders within us.
All right. That is the zeal we've all been waiting for. So let's dive right into GDSC WOW 2021. I would like to ask our audience, how many Google technologies are you folks aware of? Wow, well, those are a lot of stacks. But how many of you can draw the roadmap to learning these technologies? Well, that sounds a little bit pretty confusing, doesn't it? Do not worry, GDSC WOW has got you covered. As the first day of this year's GDSC WOW event, we are going to establish roadmaps to various technologies that would help build your career and ease your dev life out.
Absolutely. See, living in 21st century, we all are very well aware of the technical revolution has had over each one of us. Every day, we are indebted to the great discovery of the internet and the technologies that come along with it, including the web and the app development tech stack.
True, everyone seems to be able to develop apps in no time.
Exactly. But I would like to throw a question over to the pretty minds in our audience. Do you folks know what's the most trending UI toolkit by Google that helps you enhance the aesthetics of your application with ease? Any guesses? Wow, we have pretty intelligent audience among us if they answer Flutter. I can see how many of you folks are keeping tabs on the new technologies flowing into the market. That's right. We are talking about Flutter. Flutter is the most trending open source framework by Google for building beautiful, natively compiled, multi platform applications from a single code base.
Right. So, without any further ado, let's fly through Flutter with Miss Nikita Gandhi, who is a community manager at Google Developers Group. She is also a co founder of two startups, namely Hackademist and CodeWiser. Apart from that, Nikita has also been an advocate for the cause of empowering women in the field of tech, for which she's been the lead organizer of various women associated communities, including Women Tech Makers and Pie Ladies. We are super glad to have you with us today. Over to you, Nikita.
Hi everyone, and so nice to see so many of you joining virtually here at the event today, and really excited to share more about Flutter with all of you. Before that, let's keep in the energy rolling, and blue heart stands for Flutter. So, can we have a lot of blue hearts coming in the chat section today? Let's show some love. Meanwhile, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I have a few slides to present, so allow me some time to just share my screen. Okay, and here you go. I am about to present my screen. All right. So, thanks to the host, they already have done the introduction for me. My name is Nikita. I am from the developer relations team at Google, and I'm the community manager for the GDSC program in India. And today, I'm going to tell you how you can build beautiful apps for everyone. So, you may be a beginner who have already started with Flutter, or you may be someone who wants to start with Flutter. This session is for both of you, for those who want to make a journey with Flutter. So without further ado, let me tell you more about what Flutter is and how you can build a journey using Flutter. Um, Some of you have used Flutter in the past. Can we have a show of hands in the chat? How many of you have used Flutter in the past? How many of you have built apps using Flutter in the past? So Flutter is Google's portable UI toolkit for building beautiful multi-platform applications. So Google has developed this toolkit for developers who want to build apps for multiple platforms. So if you were to develop an application with Flutter, you can actually use the same code base for 7 different platforms, including iOS, Android, web, Windows, Mac operating system, Linux, and embedded. So imagine writing a single code base and deploying it on 7 different platforms, and it still works very well on 7 different platforms. Isn't that interesting? So there are 5 foundational pillars for Flutter. So for those of you who are hearing about Flutter for the first time, Flutter is fast. The reason is when you were to compile a code with Flutter, you don't have to rerun the entire code again. So basically, if you have made changes outside the main function, the changes can be easily reflected using hot reload feature. Also, it gives you a native experience. So if if you have developed an app using Flutter, it gives you a native performance as if you were running the app on a native operating system with using a native language. So it's really smooth, and hence developers find it productive because they don't have to rerun the application from start, wait for the compilation time, and then see the changes that they have made. You can actually build beautiful applications with Flutter. So it's easy to drive animations, add a lot of colors, add different fonts, images to your app, and hence you can build beautiful apps using Flutter. The beauty of Flutter and what makes Flutter popular in the ecosystem is it's open. So anyone who is interested in contributing to Flutter on GitHub, Stack Overflow, any of the existing communities, or any of the libraries that are available, Flutter is open for everyone. It's free of cost, and everyone is welcome to contribute. And Flutter is portable. So just like I said in the previous slide, you can utilize the single code base to deploy it on various platforms. Hence, the beauty of Flutter stands for fast, productive, beautiful, open, and portable. And Flutter is trusted by developers over startups and enterprises. A lot of giants like Ubuntu, Grab, Tencent, BMW, Alibaba Group, WeChat have trusted Flutter for their production level applications. And there are more than 2 lakh apps that are built using Flutter. And Google is also using Flutter for a lot of applications. One of the most popular app that we all use on a regular basis, Google Pay, is developed using Flutter. And when Google decided to use Flutter for its production level application for GPay, they found that engineers found 20% productive when they migrated to Flutter, as well as the lines of code also reduced by 20% when the app transitioned to Flutter. So the lines of code base immensely reduced with Flutter, and hence developer also find it productive. And then there are a lot of apps. I'm sure many of you use Family Link, Blogger, Google One, Nest Hub, Analytics. All of these are developed using Flutter. And the ecosystem of Flutter is large, which means anytime you're stuck, there is a lot of help that is available for you across the ecosystem, right from GitHub to a lot of libraries or a lot of code base that is already written for you, which you can reuse in your applications, to meetups and Twitter. There is a lot of help available for you across the ecosystem. Now, let's actually get started. Now you got an overview of what Flutter is and how big the world of Flutter is, right from the ecosystem to enterprises and startups who have trusted Flutter. We have got some background about what Flutter is. Now let's get started to know how you can become a Flutter developer. So first thing first is you need to deploy or install Flutter on your local machines. So if you were to develop apps using Flutter, what you need to do is install any of the editors like Android Studio or Xcode, VS Code, anything of your choice, and install Flutter. All you need to go is go to flutter.dev, choose the operating system of your local machine, and accordingly download the package that you can install on your machine. All the steps that needs to be followed for installation are available on the website itself, which will help you easily install the Flutter package on your machine. Once you have done that, once you have installed the editor and you have Flutter on your operating system, on your machines, what you can see is when once you open your editor, an instant code is available on your screen, which is a counter app. So that's how easy it is to for someone who wants to get started with Flutter. The first thing is you install Flutter on your local machines. By the way, Flutter easily integrates with a lot of third-party plugins as well as APIs on Android, iOS, Firebase, and is compatible with material design standards. So if you were to develop applications as per the industry standards, it's really easy to make integrations using Flutter. Well, the question is, how do I get started? Now you know how to install Flutter on your local machines, but the actual question is, how do I get started? So some of you have understanding about basics of programming. Can we have a quick show of hands? How many of you know the basics of programming? And some of you may not have an idea about how to write a code. Maybe you're first year students. Don't worry, I have solutions for both of you. So for those who have written some basic code in the past, maybe you understand what is object-oriented programming language. Then all you need to do is understand how it is relative to Dart. So maybe you come from a Java background or C++, and that's how you know what is object-oriented programming language. Then you need to just understand how is it similar to Dart. So go to dart.dev where you would get a lot of help on how to get started with Dart. This applies to both those who know what is object-oriented programming language and for those who don't know what is object-oriented programming language. And then once you start understanding what Dart is, then you can go and start building apps using Flutter. I will still tell you more about that in the next slides. But if you have built apps for Android in the past and now want to build apps for Flutter, all you need to do is understand how Dart works, understand the syntax, because now you know how the logic works in programming. So just try to understand what is Dart and the basics of object-oriented programming concepts. And then you can get on to understanding what Flutter is. Well, the theory with Flutter is everything is a widget in a Flutter. So if you were to construct a building, there are iron rods, there are bricks, and there are cements. So the iron rods are nothing but Dart in Flutter. So Dart gives you a framework, and the bricks are basically widgets which help you build apps in Flutter. Everything that you see on the screen, may that be a text, may that be a button, may that be an image, may that be something else that you see on the screen, everything that you see on your screen is a widget. And widgets can be of multiple types. They can be stateful widget or they can be stateless widget. If something that you see on the screen changes on user input, then they are stateful widgets. So basically, if there is a button, you click on that, and if you happen to go on to the next screen, then it is a stateful widget. But if nothing changes, like you click on the text and nothing changes on the screen, then it is a stateless widget. I'll talk more about accessibility, inherited widget, theming, and localization in the next slides. So here's an example of stateless widget. There's a text on the screen. So on the right side, it's a UI of a screen, and the text is hello world, and I have given the direction for the text from left to right. So this is how you print a text using Flutter on your screen. So if you were just to display hello world, you don't have to write direction as well. It's an optional parameter. But if you just write text, round brackets, inside single or double quotes, the string that you want to print, and run the code, you will actually see the results on the screen, maybe on your emulator or a physical device that you're using. Well, so that was about stateless widget, and the state of the app does not change with user input. But if you were to add interactivity to your app, which means when user is watching your app and something needs to be changed while they are on the app, then it's a stateful widget. So if you were to click on a button and the counter increases, then it is a stateful widget. And here I have used a widget called as elevated button. A widget can be declared using the widget name and round brackets. And inside you add the action that the widget needs to perform. So in case of a button, what do we want is what happens when the user clicks on that button, right? An elevated button will have some height to it. It appears a little bit elevated to the user. But otherwise, if you want the button to be flat, then it can be a flat button widget that you can use. So if you have used applications on your phone, sometimes the buttons are elevated, sometimes they are not. Usually this concept is where, let's say I want the user to most likely click on yes, then that is elevated, and no is a flat button. And when the user clicks on yes, if I want them to proceed to the next screen, then I add an on press method. And what happens after the user clicks on the button is the action that is associated on the right side. By the way, if you know what HTML and CSS is, it's very easy to understand the syntax in Flutter. Cool. And whatever you want to appear on the button, anything, any text and all, that can be given in the text widget, which is a child of the parent widget, that is elevated button. Localization. If you want to implement any platform specific UI, let's say you want the user journey to for an iPhone to be slightly different than an Android phone, because for those who have used both Android and iPhones, you may have seen the transition from one screen to another in iOS versus Android is slightly different. And if you want to maintain that consistency in both Android and iPhones, then you can make platform specific UI changes as well using localization. Then there is inherited widgets. Widgets that carry the property of its parent widgets are inherited widgets. So you may not inherit all the properties of the parent widget, but you can actually extend few properties of parent widget, and that is called as inherited widget. So whatever you see on your screens in Flutter, it appears as a series of widgets, and it's a tree-like structure. So there is a parent, and each parent can have a child or multiple children. And that's how multiple widgets on the screen appear to us. So what I want you to do is, after this session, try writing a basic application. Install Flutter on your local machines. Try using some stateless widgets, like use a text widget, use a elevated button, try adding rows and columns. And you can also customize these widgets. So customize your text, customize your button, give it a color, add it a shape. And try using some stateful widgets. So if you're adding a button, add action. What happens when user clicks on the button? If you're adding a pop-up, what happens when the user closes the pop-up, and so on. And make some platform specific changes. What happens for a journey for an Android user versus what happens for a user who's using iOS. And also try some inheritance, how the widget properties can be inherited. Try using that also in using inheritance widgets. Add animations. We all love beautiful animations so that the app becomes lively, and hence try few of these animations. The list that you see on the screen are widgets. You can actually declare these widgets in your app by just adding these names, round brackets, and different actions you want these widgets to perform. I'm not going to tell you the syntax here because that's not the intent of this session. All you can do is go to google.com, search these widgets, see what the syntax is, and try replicating in your apps. Copying the syntax is easy, but understanding the logic is important. So try to understand the logic. Syntax you can learn from anywhere or you can copy from anywhere. You may have to take a decision of choosing the right Flutter animation, right from inline animation to an outbound animation, explicit animation to a custom paint. There are a lot of choices to be made. Once you start understanding a little bit about animations, try adding different types of animations in your app. So here's a list. Here's a second assignment for all of you. Once you complete the first assignment, try using these animations. Just take a screenshot of this screen. This is your second assignment. And try using these animations in your app once you complete the first step. Then comes storage. Now you've made your app really look beautiful on the front end. Now you want to add a backend so that whenever the user is interacting with your app, all their actions can be recorded and you can provide a journey to them accordingly. So what you need to do is understand what storage is. For you to store information of a user, you can either use shared preference, you can either use file storage, or you can either use SQLite. Now, all of these are plugins that are available. Go to pub.dev where you would find these plugins and you would know how to basically add storage to your beautiful front end or your application. Cool. Then there are a lot of external libraries. There is a lot of code base which is already available and you don't have to reinvent the code again. A lot of libraries already exist. What you can do is, again, go to pub.dev, search about these libraries and try adding it to your app. HTTP is when you want to make a connection with the server. Get it is when you want to get something from a particular location. Block pattern is where you want to basically get an architecture for your app. Cache network is where you want to cache the images on the local machine. And then font awesome is for someone who wants to add different types of font to your application. Try using these in your app, which will give you some confidence in using Flutter. Then there are behavior components. As a user, do you remember the apps ask you for permission? They want to access your location. They want to access your contact. All of this needs permission to be set. So try searching for permissions and how you can set permissions for the user. Then there is local notifications. So if you want to send local notifications while a user is using the app, like, the battery is running out, or connect to the Bluetooth so that you are able to use this application, you can manage that using local notification. There is push notifications. So if you want to send promo notifications, just like the amazing Zomato app does, you can use push notifications. If you want to allow the user to download something on their local machines, then you can have download manager. If you want the user to play some media in the background, specifically if it's a game app, then add media playback. And you can also have preference and sharing. So if you want the user to share something or a file or the app itself to multiple other apps, then you can allow them to do so. So just try to search more on the sharing side. Well, step 11 is a little complicated concept and it comes at a little later stage. It includes set stage, provider, redux, block, and mobx. These are state management techniques for setting the app architecture. Each of these state management techniques comes with its own pros and cons. So it solves for either of the cases. We don't have any suggestion on which of the state management technique is the best practice, but I would encourage all of you to search for all of these, read more about it, implement in your apps. It will definitely help you if you're planning to apply for a Flutter developer role in the industry. Now, this is my favorite part where I'm going to tell you about Firebase with Flutter. So for someone who wants to integrate the features of Firebase to your Flutter application, this is an excellent combination of Firebase with Flutter. You can authenticate an user with OTPs on email, phone number, and other platforms using the Firebase auth feature. You can use Firebase real-time storage, or you can use Firebase database for managing the user data. And you can also send messages to the user using the Firebase messaging functionality. So these are the 4 features that I really love and recommend all of you to try for your applications. And that's not it. Continue learning and sharing with Flutter. Obviously, if you want to feel confident about what you know, it's important to just not learn but share. There are a lot of code labs that are available. Just search for Flutter code labs on Google and you will get a lot of code labs that are already there. You can use those for your for your understanding, to know more about Flutter. There are a lot of YouTubers, there is a lot of content, content developers who have built amazing content for someone who wants to make a journey with Flutter. Do check out their content, make the most out of their video tutorials. Flutter team itself have their own official channel. You can check out their content as well. Check out for widget of the week. Learn more about new widgets that are coming in. A lot of libraries are already available on pub.dev. You can use those in your app. You can also contribute to those libraries and help the developers make the libraries more and more robust. There are a lot of Medium articles for those who prefer learning via blogs. Do check out the Medium articles. You can also contribute to the GitHub repository and join one of the meetup groups around you where you can learn with peers like you, and you can also share back your knowledge. So you can start your own video tutorials, you can write your own blogs, you can contribute to the GitHub repositories, write a lot of open source code that other developers can leverage off. And you can also join meetups where you can learn and deliver sessions on Flutter. That's all. You're all set to build beautiful apps for every platform using Flutter. If you have any questions or you would like to connect with me after this session, do follow me on Twitter. At the rate Nikita Gandhi is my Twitter handle, and do check out my Twitter handle and share all the awesome work that you have been doing with Flutter. I'd love to give you a shout out from my handle as well. Uh, that's all for today. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you found this session insightful. Well, I would like to invite the host to take back. But meanwhile, I really hope you found the session interesting, and you make the most out of Flutter.
Wow, Nikita. Without a doubt, that was an incredible, insightful session for our audience. I'm pretty sure we have got increasing number of Flutter enthusiasts in the audience right now. Thank you so much, Nikita.
Yeah,
Thank you.
like I can already tell I'm pulling all-nighters building Flutter apps now. And it looks like a lot of you might be doing the exact same. Okay. So I see a lot of you have posted your queries and questions in the comment section. So let's go over them one by one.
So the
Nikita,
first
okay.
question for the
Yeah.
day is, Nikita, can you please suggest some resources to how to learn Flutter, like those who indicate how to learn Flutter and like from the basics level?
Of course. So there are a lot of code labs that are available. That was my first point to get started with Flutter. It actually gives you a step-by-step understanding on how to get started, and how you can add each code base in your app and make app ready at the end of the code lab. For those who prefer learning by videos, like I mentioned, there are a lot of YouTube channels which share similar content. And then those who prefer learning via blogs on Medium, there are a lot of articles. I myself am a blogger on Flutter, so do check out a few of my blogs as well on Medium. My Medium handle remains the same at the rate Nikita Gandhi, and Nikita with a double K. Yeah, I think that should be pretty much sufficient for those who want to get started with Flutter.
Absolutely. That was indeed insightful. Moving on to our next question. Nikita, how is Flutter different from Kotlin?
So Flutter helps you target your code base for multiple platforms, which means you write Flutter code and it can be run just not on Android, but iOS, Windows, web, embedded, Linux, and desktop. So it helps you target 7 different platforms using single code base. The architecture of both these tech stacks is different, and yeah, there are a lot other differences as well, but not going into it, like from where, how old each of these tech stack is,
Yeah,
and you know how many of developers have used Flutter in the past.
Okay, so next question is, can you list out some extensions of VS Code for Flutter?
Um, I haven't used VS Code, to be honest, as extensively as I've used Android Studio. But the basic thing that I tried with VS Code was install Flutter on VS Code, and I think that was really enough. I also installed an emulator so that I can run my code on a emulated device. All of this is available on VS Code, so I think that should suffice the basic need of you to write apps and run your application.
true, true. Nikita, actually, as a beginner, one might find this question very often in their like lying in their brains. People want to know like how long will it take to get proficient with Flutter
Well, you can
generally?
you can be proficient today itself if you right away start installing Flutter and spend all night learning and exploring more about it. It totally depends on you as a learner. If you are a quick learner, maybe it takes some less time, as well as how much time you can dedicate every day. But obviously, you cannot become expert overnight. It's a vast technology, and it applies for all the technologies, right? All of them have ocean of resources and new things that come up every day. So you cannot be an expert or proficient anytime, but as long as you are able to run the assignments that I shared in the session, that should help you.
Okay, Nikita, I think that we
Yeah,
answered
that's
enough.
about
You
it.
answered enough question. So, thank you, Nikita, for clearing the doubt of our audience. We feel lucky to have you here with us. On the side note, we also got Flutter Festival 2022 going on in GDSC communities globally. So, do reach out to your leads and continue thriving with Flutter.
All right. So, we are all well aware that knowledge shared is not as impactful until it is tested out, isn't it? Therefore, we've got a Flutter quiz scheduled for you all.
Okay, so we have shared a Google form link in the chat box, and all of you are required to take the quiz in under 5 minutes of time. I think we are dropping it off. Okay.
All right, folks, you've got 1 minute left. We would like you to hurry up now.
And the countdown starts now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, guys, time's up. So here we come to the end of our first session for the day. We are thankful to our speakers and audience for being super patient and showcasing amazing Z.
Also, folks, make sure you guys attend the day 2 of GDSC WOW as well, since the winners for the quiz would be announced tomorrow.
Moving on to the next session.
All right. I would like to ask our audience, how many of you folks participated in the 30 days of Google Cloud Challenge last year? Wow, I see a lot of you folks are into cloud computing and the various cloud technologies. Well, that's amazing. Since we've got so many cloud enthusiasts in the house, we are pleased to inform you all that our next session, which is going to be on cloud, is going to be really insightful for all of you.
And for those of you who were new to this domain, cloud computing is a general term for anything that involves delivering hosted services over the internet. To help you satiate your curiosity about cloud, we have with us our next speaker, Mr. Preetham Sahu. Preetham is a partner cloud architect at Google. He has been in IT industry for over 15 years and specialized in cloud technologies including Google Cloud, AWS, and Oracle Public Cloud. This knowledge of him across cloud and databases are his key strength for which he has also been an Oracle FY17 Novo Technorati awardee. We welcome you, Preetham, to GDSC WOW 2021.
Thank you, team. It's a real honor and privilege to be part of this GDSC WOW group.
We're happy to have you here with us, sir.
Uh, Suraj is there. He can run the slides for me. Hi, everyone. This is Preetham here, partner cloud architect, as highlighted by the moderators here. So I am almost like 16 years of IT experience, been through different parts of legacy technologies, started as a software engineer, moved on to the world of cloud, worked with different organizations likes of SAP, Oracle. Now it's a real privilege to work with Google Cloud. So as a part of this session, I will be talking about how you can get started with Google Cloud and what is the road ahead for you as a students in the journey and how you can embark the cloud journey with ease and Google Cloud as a platform of choice for you. So moving on, so let's understand what's our mission and vision statement is, right? So if you look at Google, right, which is the organization which has been helping our users, right, whether it is consumer users like or the layman users, or it's talking about any of these IT tech professionals you look at, right? So our vision is quite simple: to organize world's information and make it universally accessible and also make it useful. And to align to the Google's vision, Google Cloud, which started a few years back, we have accelerated every organization's ability to digitally transform and reimagine their vision through data powered innovation. So we are looking to help each organization or anybody who wants to get started with us to digitally transform with the power of data and analytics, which Google has pioneered over more than 2 decades. If you can move on to the next slide. So, interestingly, in 2018, there was a survey conducted by a third party where it was found out there were 10 popular products which is widely used across users, and it includes all sections of users, right? Respective of age, gender, and race and ethnicity. It was found out of 10, 8 were from Google itself, and each of these product had more than 1 billion users. You can imagine the power of each of these products which you have been using as a part and parcel of your life, right? So, and each of these products has got inbuilt AIML, and our mantra and theme always had been to democratize AIML rather than restricting this the beautiful world of AIML and opening up the platform to everybody, whether you are new or not acquainted or you are expert. As a platform offers you by default this AIML platform. If you look at Gmail is the de facto mailing service for any of the users you use, right? Maps, everybody uses it day in day life, right? Or if you're thinking about search, which is widely used as a by default de facto search engine. If you want to search info, it is the default search engine which you have been using it, right? So let's move on to the next slide here, and which I want to highlight. Can you move ahead, please? Yeah. So how we can get started with Google Cloud? Before you start, it's very important because to understand what are the key differentiators, which we'll be covering slightly later, how Google Cloud uniquely differentiates from other cloud provider. So we have divided into 4 pillars. The first part, the left and foremost, which you see, we call the data cloud. So it's no longer the only infrastructure, the hardwares we talk about, right? So if you want to embark on the transformation journey, it's all about data. Having data, as you all know, is great, but to draw meaningful insights from the data, that's where you harness the power of data. And Google Cloud has got more than 2 decades of experience in this field, and that's how we are trying to help our users in this, and customers of course, to get started, especially the world of AIML, which is very popular, and we've significantly contributed to the open source technologies and CNCF like communities on a regular basis, right? And like TensorFlow was born in Google, it was open sourced and adopted by other cloud providers. Similarly, when you talk about the data warehouse or the database technologies or the world of big data, Google has been harnessing the power of these technologies all over the life cycle of any of the users or customers you can think of, right? So one of the key differentiators which Google Cloud has been embarking and helping our customers is the openness of its platform. So what it means, like when you get start with the cloud, right? It doesn't lock you in, no vendor lock in. That means if you are happy with the cloud, with Google Cloud rather, you can stay and use all of its technology because the technology platform is based on open source. Any of this open source technology you are thinking or getting started to use, or you might have already used it, then Google Cloud is for you because we help you easy portability of the workloads. You can move around Google Cloud, use any of the services, and move back if for some reason things don't turn out well. And similarly, let's not forget, when you are getting started on the cloud journey, it's more important to have the people's, the processes, and the framework in this place. That's why we always call Google Cloud is openness for the people they want to get started. So we call it people cloud. So what it means, if you have noticed, right, in this era of pandemic for last 2.5 years, right, almost now, so what has happened is everybody wants to get connected virtually and work seamlessly without impacting the productivity. If you have used Google Meet, popularly used Google Drive for real time collaboration using Google Docs or Slides, it's a very easy to use tool where people can get connected in real time virtually with ease with a very low bandwidth. And of course, all these things, all these 3 pillars we talked about, like smarter, faster, and connected, fall short if the trust and transparency or the confidence for our users is not maintained. And we have been very serious and very much paranoid about the trust and the security aspect because we take it very seriously. And any data our users or our customers or any organization uploads in Google Cloud, we have no access to the data. Customer is in full control of the data. Neither Google sells any part of the data to any to third party organization. And we maintain a clear transparency with our customers what is happening to the life cycle of the data once they embark on the Google Cloud. And so we have very rapidly expanded to support our customers users across all over the globe. So currently we are present in 29 regions. In India especially, we are there in Mumbai and New Delhi. Last year, somewhere in June or July, we had the Delhi region launch, where people who are looking for something have a resilience disaster recovery for Mumbai application hosted in Mumbai region can always go for the Delhi region as well. 2 regions in India out of 29, and each of this region has got fault tolerant data centers. We call it zone, and each region can have 3 or 2 or 4, and each region depends on where they are, what part of the globe. It can have 2 or more zones, and think of zone as a fault tolerant data center. If one zone goes out, you still have the life on for the application hosted in that particular region. And talking about the edge locations, we understand the request coming from users across, let's say in India, across all over the places. To make it faster, the seamless, give you better user experience, we provide you edge location. Sometimes we call it POP, right? And we are present in 200 plus locations. So moving on to the next slide, please. So why Google Cloud? So we highlighted few of the differentiators while we are trying to understand how Google Cloud is different from other public cloud, right? So let me reiterate the first point here itself: open and flexible, right? So if you look at the trend, right? Initially, it was always on premise. I think 5 or 6 years traditionally on premise was ruling the world, right? and people realize the value of cloud. But at the same time, if you look at the report from industry analysts, especially, right, like of the Gartners or IDCs or Foresters of the world, all users or rather the organizations are looking for a flexible option where we are talking about not only one single cloud, multi-cloud option, depending upon the choice of organization they want to get started, or even a hybrid option. For example, customer or may have an environment on-prem, the production environment, and the disaster recovery or the resilience side hosted on Google Cloud, or might be any other way they want to architect. So that's where we have been helping our customers and users in this journey. And we have a flagship product called Anthos, which is based on most popularly used tool from the developers, the Kubernetes, right? Which gives you seamless and single pane of a glass to manage your workload, especially the container workloads. And they might be running on Google Cloud, or might be running on-prem, or in a hybrid mode, or might be multi-cloud with Google Cloud as just one of the options. And we talked about democratizing the access to data and insights. That's why Google Cloud brings in a clear differentiator in this arena. So one of the things like we have been talking about is how can any user get started drawing insights from the data. So a few of the products, if you have started using on the data warehouse or the AML, we have made a clear differentiator. If somebody is novice to the world of AML, or somebody is in between the journey of AML with a bit of understanding, or somebody is already a data science specialist, right, or data analyst or data steward, we cater to each section of users so that they are not left behind. And we are a strong believer of having a sustainable system. So we were very early in this stage of starting carbon neutral way back in 2007 and 2008, and we have taken a very ambitious goal. By 2030 we are going to be carbon free. And what it means, we are trying to run all of our data center operations like 24 hours by 7, 365 days a year, or based on the renewable energy. And we have been contributing to the to our beautiful planet, right, and also helping organizations adopt this sustainability and making them carbon free. And this is our not only mission but our ambitious goal as well by 2030. And of course, we understand when you talk about cloud, we always think about how about the security aspect. And all of our customers literally become paranoid. Let's say they are going with Google Cloud or might be with other cloud vendors, right? But with Google Cloud, security is by default. And let me cite an example of this. Encryption is of data is no longer a choice, it's a must have. Whether they're going to customers or users are going to use encryption option provided by Google Cloud, which is the default option, or they want to manage the encryption keys themselves, or even bring in their own encryption keys from their office or the data centers they're working from. So we give you plenty of options, and data is secure with lot of the security solution we provide from end to end, right from the data center all the way to the devices, with custom built infrastructure. So what does this custom built infrastructure mean is we don't rely on any third party hardware vendors to build our infrastructure, which has been powering all the world class product you have heard from Google, whether it is Map or Gmail or search or even Google Cloud Services. And we talked about like people cloud, right? So that's where we're trying to help our users in the space of collaboration and productivity. So this has been one of the key offerings from Google Cloud, where users can easily connect from anywhere, any place, and the choice of the device, and get started connected virtually to have a seamless live interaction with their audiences. And of course, when cloud comes, all the users look about the TCO and the ROI, right? The return of investment. And Google Cloud offers you significant and optimized way of costing mechanism, how any customers or any users they embark on us with us in their journey can benefit from this the cost optimization of aspect. Not only the day one, also over a period of a time they see a significant savings as well. And we understand we are talking about the technicalities, but we are also helping the customers across different industry verticals, whether it is financial sector or manufacturing, the retail, or even the startup industry, or any healthcare section you talk about. We are there with our industry solutions to help our customers and the users in this journey to get started with Google Cloud. Moving on to the next slide, please. So this slide might look like a busy slide, and let me try to simplify. So we have got a bunch of offerings from Google Cloud. So I will start with the compute, which you see in the second bottom section. So depending on the choice you want to get started with Google Cloud, we give you plenty of options, right? Whether you are looking for a traditional way of having infrastructure, hardware, or might be thinking to deploy on a virtual machine, Compute Engine is the way forward for you. Or if you are more of you want to deploy a managed service platform and you want to deploy code and leave the rest, and so that all the heavy lifting is done by the cloud vendor, we give you a bunch of options. So App Engine is one of a popular product amongst our developer community, as well as Container Engine, we call it GKE, Google Kubernetes Engine. And it's the same engine, Kubernetes technology, which you see, which is open sourced by Google a few years back, and it's a managed service, so that all the heavy lifting is abstracted away from you as a developer. In the middle section, the storage, we call it storage, but it's actually the storage and the databases, so that's how we term it. So cloud storage, if you have unlimited amount of data and you want to have a backup, resiliency, archival for compliance or regulatory reasons, like storing your videos, PDFs, documents, you can go with cloud storage. It is a very cost effective cloud storage option from Google Cloud. But if you are looking a global transactional database, imagine you are looking for a retail site, or you are trying to build a gaming application which will cater to all the users across the globe, might be in Asia Pacific, might be in Europe at the same time, but it requires a strong transactional consistency. We give you Cloud Spanner, and it can give you 5 nines of availability. That means literally hardly 3 to 4 minutes downtime in any particular year. Similarly, for relational databases, managed services for MySQL, Postgre, on those lines, even SQL Server, we give you Cloud SQL. And if you're wondering like what is Bigtable about, it's a very popular product, and if you're not aware, it has been powering your the two services like Gmail, Ads, Search as a backend. It's a NoSQL database. So one side you have SQL database, relational database like Cloud SQL Spanner. On the other side, you have NoSQL databases, typically unstructured data aspect, right? So it's a key value pair database, and it helps you get started with a wide column store with high throughput, low latency. If that is the aspect we are looking at, and storing time series data, let's say for example, you want to store the data of a stock prices, let's say the stocks prices over a period of a time, let's say a month or a year, or might be you are trying to monitor the temperature of your the machines or the IoT devices, and store those time series data. So Bigtable is a fantastic choice in this arena. Similarly, network, we give you lot of options. The way you want to look secure connectivity, you can get VPN. That's one of the option. Or you are looking for a dedicated way to connect without going through public internet directly to Google Cloud. So we have multiple options as well there. But in the interest of time, we give you interconnect, and it can start for 50 Mbps and can go till 100 Mbps, quite open. And similarly, in the data warehouse or the data analytics part, we give you world class services, which again, we're talking about the breadth and expertise of Google in this space, right? So BigQuery is our petabyte or exabyte serverless offering, so that you focus on data and draw insights from the data on the day one itself after the data is uploaded. And similarly, to process the pipeline, to transform the pipeline, we give you again the serverless offering of data flow. And if you are looking a big data platform, and the analogy to this is think of Hadoop or Spark workloads, then we give you a managed serving called Dataproc. Similarly, in the world of AI ML or machine learning, we, as I said, like for any users, depending upon the background, let's say completely novice or somewhere a bit of understanding of AI ML, or even an expert, let's say for example, data scientist or data stewards, we have been categorizing multiple options in this arena. So like Vision API, Speech API, these are all for a novice. But if you are looking for something like TensorFlow, Jupyter Notebooks, Scikit-learn, right? All these are also available on Google Cloud to get you started. Plus, we have a strong partner ecosystem. When I say partner, the technology vendors like some MongoDB, Redis, right, popularly used, or Neo4j, the graph databases, or Databricks, which is also popularly used in the world of analytics. So we have a bunch of offerings with them on our marketplace, which is the analogy you can think of is like a Play Store or a App Store for iOS apps, right? So these are, now I know it's a quite a heavy slide and detailed slide, but these are a few of the offerings you can think of while you are getting to start your cloud journey with Google Cloud. Go ahead, please, and the next slide. So, so as we all come from the student background, from different various this, right? Once, so when you start, we always had a, theoretical, or we call it sometimes, if I can call it out vocally, right, the textbook knowledge, right? But the real world scenario is slightly different. We all understand we need to get sort of expertise when you are trying to get started on this journey, right, of cloud. What it means, you have to roll up your sleeves and spend some time doing real time solving of the practical examples to get started with, and eventually when you get a chance, do some projects, right, with your friends and the community which you are part of, right, so that you become expert. So you have to transition from textbook knowledge, the documentation knowledge, or the bookish knowledge, you want to call it out, right, to expert knowledge, when you can only become expert if you really do a hands-on practice. And Google Clouds give you plenty of option to get you started. And even there are some $300 credit as well, free credits, if you are completely new and want to start on the Google Cloud. Of course, there are plenty of options for students as well. Moving on to the next slide, please. So this is just a bunch of certification we are offering for the technical folks, right? So, so let me start with the first one on the bottom left, which you see Associate Cloud Engineer. If you are a hardcore techie, and you are trying to start your cloud journey, as a first step, I would strongly recommend to start with Associate Cloud Engineer. That gives you immense amount of exposure to understand how what is Google Cloud, right, from infrastructure and the other services which you saw in the previous section of the slide, right, so that you built a strong expertise by doing a hands-on labs. So once you spend some time, like 3 years in the cloud domain on GCP or Google Cloud side, then you can explore the next. The best certification you can think of once you have done Associate Cloud Engineer is Professional Cloud Architect, which you see in the top section, right in the middle. So it's an architect. What you mean is a guy who interacts or works with customers and solving their problems and challenges, but has got a wide understanding of all the GCP or Google Cloud services, not only infrastructure, the data, the world of AIML, and the application modernization stack. Let's say we spoke about App Engine, Kubernetes, or even Anthos as well, right? So he needs to have a breadth of that technology and understanding so that he can guide the customers well on the ground. Similarly, once you have done that, then you can explore depending on choice. If you are a data guy like me, probably you can start with professional data engineer, which involves the depth of data, right? How does data flow work technically? And how can you build pipelines? How can you use BigQuery better? How can you use data proc services for big data world of Hadoop and Spark, or use AIML technologies? So these are different tracks which is available. So moving on to the next slide. So that's it from my side, team. And thank you for this opportunity. And I would love to interact with you, all of you guys, with questions you have to help you understand how you can get started with the Google Cloud and your journey.
Well, that definitely ignited the wow zeal within all of us. Thank you so much, Preetham, for sharing your invaluable knowledge with us.
With the session being an absolute success, I can see a lot of queries flooding in the comment section. We would like to take them up now.
Yep.
Okay. So our first question is, can you please describe the security aspects that the cloud offers?
Yep. Very valid questions, and great question, Tanish. I think it's Priyansi, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So when you look at cloud, right, and even our customers day in day out ask the same question, whether they're an expert or a new to cloud. So very first thing which I told while describing the cloud security from Google standpoint, we encrypt the data by default. So initially, when you look at cloud, encryption was an option as a flexible option, but now with Google Cloud, it's no longer flexible, it's a must have. And there are different ways you can encrypt the data. For instance, they can use by default Google Cloud option, or even they can bring in their own encryption key if they feel they are not comfortable the way Google handles the encryption of data. The second thing, we comply to all the industry regulations you can think of, whether it is ISO standards or HIPAA or PCI DSS, or even now with if you look at for our India government sector industries, you have a separate compliance, the METI approval. Now we are part of that METI approved vendor as well for that India government entities, the central and state government plus, and there are different aspects as well. So when you talk about cloud, think of this as a shared responsibility model, something we as a cloud vendor will do for our users, but of course users will also have to do their homework, right? So it's a mutual handshake between users and Google Cloud, so that to make it foolproof, if not 100%, at least try to reach that 100% milestone in the security. So these are few. I know in the interest of time I would love to talk about this topic, which keeps coming in every time.
Well, that's definitely informative, sir. Moving on to the next question. Sir, how are the Google Compute Engine and the Google App Engine like related with each other?
Yep, great question. So when you look at compute engine, it's the virtual machines, the VMs. Uh, if you are aware of those, it's all is like only Google will provide you infrastructure, right? For choosing the operating system, let's say Windows or Linux of your choice, installing the application, managing entire thing, backup, patching is up to you as a user. But if you only want to focus on your code, and you know, like I want to deploy my application in Java, Python, Ruby, .NET, and let the cloud provider manage my infrastructure piece, then App Engine is a great choice. It's the platform of choice for any developers. So that's what our developers get excited when they come. Just deploy the code and binaries, leave the rest heavy lifting from the infrastructure to the Google's aspect.
True, that's definitely informative. So our next question is, how can Google Computing provides on-demand functionalities?
Okay. So, what if I understand the question? It's more about the on-demand. So, if you
Function.
look at functionality, yeah. So, when you look at cloud, right, it's always about elasticity, scalability, and all those aspects, right? High availability, all those wonders of the world. So similarly in Google Cloud, once you get started with us, you can just in a matter of few seconds or minutes, you can roll up the virtual machines or roll up the any services, whether it's data warehouse, databases, or AI/ML on the need and need basis. If you are done with the requirement of the usage of the services, you can just turn it out so that you are not overbuild as well. So you need to take care of that aspect, because if you're not using it, it's not like your laptop or machines, you go away, you will be paying anything extra, you run it and don't use it, you are still liable to pay to any cloud vendor, right? So on demand is of course there as a first choice for any users on Google Cloud.
All right, I guess that's the amount of questions we got. Thank you again, Preetham, for your time and for committing to this session. I can tell WOW would be a success with mentors like you by our side.
Yeah, it's a great honor. Lots of love to the students community. It reignited my older days back way back into 16 years, 2006. I passed my engineering graduation. And thank you for having me. And it's a great opportunity to interact with you, all you folks. Thanks, Arusi. Thanks, Priyansi. Have a great day. And I wish everyone best of luck.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, folks. So for this session as well, we have got a quiz planned for you all. We have shared a Google form link in the chat box, and all you are required to take the quiz in under 5 minutes. So the link is dropped.
And your time
Our
starts
time
now.
starts now. Only 1 minute left, guys. You might wanna hurry up.
All right, folks. I think all of you are done with your quiz.
I
Okay.
hope so.
Yeah. Moving forward, hey folks, we hope that you've enjoyed the session so far and hopefully got to learn a lot of new things. What about you, Akansha? Which session did you find the most intriguing?
Yeah, that's a really difficult question to be honest. On one hand, we had Nikita's amazing session on Flutter, and on the other hand, we had Preetham Sahu sharing such an insightful roadmap on cloud.
Exactly. Those were two incredibly insightful sessions. Anyway, let's get to our next segment. But before that, I think we should start by introducing ourselves. Why don't you go first?
Yeah, sure. Hi everyone, I am Akansha Jain, GDSC lead at Shahid Rajguru College of Applied Sciences for Women, Delhi University. I'm from Noida, Uttar Pradesh. How about you, Vaibhav?
Hey folks, I am Vaibhav, core team member at GDSC LPU. I'm from Bangalore and I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, same here as well. And we love the enthusiasm we have seen throughout the day, and we would love to see it going.
That's correct. And to give you guys a quick sneak peek into what's in store for you, coming right up, we have sessions on UI UX, web, machine learning, free pizzas. Okay, maybe I lied about the last one, but stay tuned, you never know.
Yeah, so that's one way to keep them hooked. Okay, so just a quick reminder, please do share the live stream with your fellow UI UX developers or anyone having an interest in UI UX, since we will be starting with our next session of the day, that is Aesthetic User Interfaces by Charu Chaudhar soon. So stay tuned.
Also, before we begin, make sure to grab a snack or two. And while you do that, please drop in chat what are your favorite beverages, or just feel free to talk about your love for chai.
Yeah, so till the time people are dropping their preferences in the chat, Weber, I think we should go ahead and introduce our next speaker.
Of course, our next speaker, Miss Charu Chowda, she is a senior UX designer at Microsoft, previously working as a UX designer at Google and a product designer at Zomato. Welcome, Miss Charu. We are glad to have you here, and the stage is all yours.
Hi, Weber. Hi, Kansha, and
Hi,
hi,
hi.
everyone else.
Hello, ma'am.
Can
Hello.
you hear
Hello.
me well?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you well.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me. And yeah, I'm excited to speak to the developer community, and I'm sure there are a lot of like folks who are interested in UI UX, and even if you're an engineer, it's really good because we are after all like we're all building good products, so it's interesting to learn about or have some kind of idea about what good design is like. So without waiting much, I'll get started with my session, and I'll share my screen. So also, while I do that, since I've just joined, it will be nice that if you can drop in the chat your name and where you are from, and probably your interest in design, a little bit about it. So I'd love to know that. But I'll not be able to see your comments while presenting, so I'll look at it later. Just give me 1 second. I'm figuring out how to share my screen. Okay. Cool. So can you all see my screen?
It's not yet on the screen.
Okay. Just give me 1 second while I figure this out. I think there is some issue with it. Just give me 1 second.
Ma'am, there must be a share button. You have to click on that.
No, I
If you
did
see the share
that,
option.
but it is asking for some permissions actually. I think it should work now. Let me just so
Till the time she is figuring out, folks, you can drop in your love for UI UX, or if you are new to it.
Exactly.
Yeah, so just let us know. Okay, I
People are
can
really
see.
excited.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. People are very excited about UI UX.
Yeah. And I think I can see people who have done professional certificates by Google. That's really amazing. Drop
Yeah,
in like
exactly.
any such certifications you've done, your any experience that you've had. And don't worry, even if you're a beginner, we got you covered. It's gonna be okay.
hey, so can you see my screen now?
Yeah, I think it's
Perfect. So we'll get started. Can you hear me well? Just let me know. Hello?
Yes, yes, we can hear you well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so thanks for dropping in comments and sorry for the glitch. So today we are going to talk about a roadmap to UI UX design, and obviously before understanding how can you get started or are you even interested to get into it, we should definitely learn a little about what it is, what UI UX design really is. Um, and to figure that out, I have some examples first to just give you a glimpse of what actually design can do, how design can or good user experience can change a very um, simple idea to something which is absolutely engaging and brilliant. So let's start with this question that what good user experience really looks like, and um, think about it, take a second, and I also please drop in your thoughts in the comments. I'll take a look at it later. But when you think about good user experience, what do you think? What does it really look like? What are the examples which comes to your head? So I got some examples for you. Here's one where on the right, on the left, you can see a regular furniture store. A furniture store. You might be able to see it anywhere around, like in cities and everywhere, like where local shops and in local markets. And on the right, you have IKEA's experience store. What do you think is the key difference here? Of course, I mean, I'm very sure that you can get very good quality product everywhere in a local shop, furniture shop or store, as well as in IKEA. But the key difference here is what IKEA has done is that they've created an experience store. It gives users who walk in into the store a feel of how this simple piece of couch will look like when they'll keep it in at their home, because they've designed the entire store in such a way that it just gives a feel of as if they're entering or they're just looking at their home, right? So that kind of gives them a feeling of how this product will fit in with their entire setup at home. Will it work or not? So they can experience it, sit on it, and things like that. So the key difference here is user experience. And I want to emphasize on this point that user experience is not just limited to digital screens and digital gadgets, which is a myth these days, but it is everywhere around us, right from like the small screens which you see to the way your houses are designed, the way like stores and malls are designed. So everything is a part of user experience. Another example here is how in early times when mobiles came in, and when you had to buy a phone, you'll mostly walk into a mall or like walk into a mobile store, and you have all this display there where you can like pick any of the phone, compare it with another phone, and very easily see the differences between their features and what are the benefits and all of that. Now what Apple did was that they saw that how people actually compared phones in real life when they're purchasing it. So they tried to replicate the same experience on web. So it is a very good example of user experience, because the behavior is picked from how people really deal with it in real life, in real surroundings. So how they actually purchase phones. So the behavior has been inspired by that, and then they replicated it into web, where you can compare between three phones and look at what are the different sizes, colors, and what are the other features, etc. So again, a very good example of good user experience. This we all know, right? But maybe we have not seen how it looked like, the Google search engine page looked like when it was launched first in its early days. It was still very progressive, because um, uh, websites at that time had like tons of content and information overload. So it was still simple, but you can see how it has progressed to even simpler search engine page, where user just comes in and you can just type in your query here, just one thing to do, no decision making fatigue, nothing else, like very simple straightforward design. A very good example of good user experience. And again, they went on like, good user experience is not just about simplifying things, it's also about creating a sense of emotional connect with users. So I'm sure you must have seen, if it's your birthday and you open Google's search engine, you'll see some sort of happy birthday doodle on the screen, and it just quickly leaves you with a smile on your face. It just delights you, because this is again a very good example of user experience, where it's not just simple, but it also creates a sense of connect with the product, and you are hooked to it. So these are some of the examples of good user experience around me. And from today, I want you to encourage and see and observe your surroundings, products you use in everyday, products being used at your homes, and observe and see what is an example of good user experience versus what is bad user experience. It will just naturally make you a better designer day by day. And before getting into this much, let me introduce a little bit and tell you about myself and my work. So I'm Charu, and as already mentioned, I'm a senior UX designer at Microsoft currently. I was working with Google and Zomato previously. I have around 8 years of experience in building products. I basically belong to a very small town in Madhya Pradesh. I did my college in NIF Mumbai, where I did communication design, but I switched the gears a little and I got into UX through my internships. So after doing my internship, the first role which I took, full-time role, was in Zomato, where I worked as a product designer. I worked on some amazing products there, but one of the major projects of my career was Zomato Gold, which I designed, was the first project I worked on, and it was like something which we designed as from an idea to a product, and it got amazing response when it got shipped. And yeah, that was amazing experience. Then I went on to Google, where I was working on a business intelligence product, and it was in incubation again, like something we were building, our team was building from start. So it started with a concept, an idea, and we kind of iterated and built a product, and it's still in cycle of releasing and all of that. Um, I then joined Microsoft, and I'm a senior UX designer here. One of the products I worked on here was Microsoft first ever Microsoft Office app, which we our team built from scratch, and it was like a completely new idea. And Microsoft never had an app for Microsoft Office, so we wanted to make it more mobile friendly, and I was glad to work on that project. And after we launched it, it got amazing responses on iOS, Android. So yeah, these were the highlights of my career. I just wanted to give you some background about me and my work. A lot of you must be wondering that is it the right time to get started in design? And maybe you have some questions, you have some myths about it. So let me tell you how should you think about it? So I'm sure you all, if you do not have any experience working in the industry, you must be thinking, how are these amazing products built? Who are the people who build them, right? Like the products we use every day, like WhatsApp, Gmail, even how we are kind of having this session here. So these are all amazing products. They're getting things done for us easily, but how are they built? Who are the people who build them? And of course, we have all heard about FANG, and a lot of us want to get here. And it's not just this, but there are brilliant other smaller companies who are coming up, and they are making amazing products all around, different domains, social media, education, food, music, and everything. Everything is surrounded by digital products. So where do you think UX plays a role here? Let me tell you, design is at the front of product development these days in all these companies, all the logos you just saw. Because for these products, the edge they have is good user experience. People use them because it's good and simple to use and easy to use. Because nowadays there are tons of products who are doing the same thing. They have the same technology. So what is the differentiator? So design becomes a differentiator, and it's not just how it looks like, but it's how it works. How does it solve the problem for users? And at the same time, designers think about how can this particular thing address a business problem, and also how technology plays a role here. What are the feasibility aspects of this particular thing? And after all of that, a good, and even keeping in mind all of these things, creating good user experience is what the challenge is. In earlier times, design might be something which used to come later on in product development, but nowadays it is a part of this journey since the beginning. And also with all the digital initiatives around us, which has kind of changed our lives in pandemic, how we are working remotely, how we are studying remotely and all of that, usability and interaction is key factors which determines the success of any product, right? So then the answer is, if you're getting into design, it's the best time right now. And even if you're not somebody who wants to get into design, you're an engineer, as I mentioned earlier, or you want to get into product management or any other field related to technology, if you have knowledge of design, it will give you an edge over a lot of others who do not understand design. So yeah, that's about it. But let's talk a little more about how do you differentiate between good UX and bad UX. So I showed you some examples previously, but you could argue that it's all relative, right? What are the parameters? How do you measure it? Because like I'm sure a lot of you are engineers and you want to like get things in numbers and measurements, so like, or parameters. So how do you define like what is good, what is bad? So there are a few things which we always keep in mind when we're differentiating or when we are trying to compare between 2 or 3 or whatever multiple designs. So I want to talk about that. So we call this features of good user experience. If you want to get started, it's a very good book to read, The Design of Everyday Things, and these are kind of derived from there. So what are these features? If you see any product, which the examples I gave, or anything you use and you feel this product is amazingly designed, it has like simplified my life, you'll always see all of these features are present there. So let's talk a little about them. The first one is discoverability. What does discoverability mean? It doesn't mean that the more options and more features which are visible to you, that means you've like kind of solved the problem, you've made it simple. But what discoverability actually means is that understanding what users want to discover, want to see like visibly upfront in a UI, and then showing them just that, and removing all the clutter, all the noise, so that they do not get into a decision making fatigue. You do not have to like kind of get confused. So it again simplifying the choices is the thing, but at the same time not simplifying it so much that users are not able to find what they're looking for. So there's a fine balance between like how do you show what is required and how do you hide what is not. Let's look at some examples. So this one, I'm sure a lot of you might have not seen it. Maybe it's a bit old for you, or maybe you've seen, but this is a Microsoft Word screen. So what do you think? Like, I mean, this is very old design, but what do you think? Is this a good, in terms of discoverability, is it a good example or a bad example? You can drop it in chats, and if any of you can like unmute and tell me like what people are saying, that will be nice. But tell me like if it's a good example or a bad example of user experience. Okay, so I didn't hear, but I'm guessing you must have understood by now. It's a bad example of user experience, right? Why? Because the number of icons visible here are, of course, feeling cluttered. It feels cluttered, just too noisy. But at the same time, even if you just want to like make a table here, you'll have to look at so many choices, and actually you have to find out, and a lot of icons look similar. So it's just too much. It's just too much for your brain. It's too much cognitive load. And again, your brain wants to kind of process things which are simple. So it is a example of bad user experience. Now, this I'm sure you must have used, and you've seen this a lot, which is the Amazon homepage. What do you think? How is it? Is it like in terms of discoverability? Is it good or bad? You can drop in comments, and if there are comments, please you can unmute and tell me if there are.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so people are saying it's a good example.
Awesome. So actually, that's true. It's a good example of user experience. You can see a lot of choices here, but the way they have done it is a very good way of organizing things in different sections, which is like these categories which have been created. So the brain doesn't have to process a lot of like things altogether. They can just look at these categories and find out what is relevant and just deep dive into that. So again, Amazon could have been very complex, and I'm sure in earlier times it was very complex, but they have simplified it by creating categories, creating more contextually relevant content, showing that upfront. And all these small things which they are doing is making this experience much better than the previous one. So that's about discoverability. The second point I want to talk about is feedback. Now, feedback is about um, basically letting user know that they have taken some action, because a lot of times I'm sure you must have seen the apps and websites which are very poorly designed, a lot of them, like your banking ones and train booking and all of that. You'll see that you keep on tapping, you've just done something, but it doesn't give you any response, and you get very frustrated at times, like there is some error happening on the background, but you don't get to know. So this thing of letting users know what just happened is called feedback. And there are various kinds of feedback. A lot of apps have some audio effects, like you press a button and it has some sound. Could be verbal, could be like just animation, or a lot of combinations of these. So let's look at some examples here again. So here I've got these examples from somewhere, but you can clearly see that in the bad one, you just tap and it said saved. It's a button, right? But in a good one, when you tap on the save button, it shows a little loader, which kind of gives users a feedback that something is happening when you're doing this, right? So it gives an assuring feeling, and then things are saved. Rather than on this one, it just says saved. So it's so quick, it's easy for a user to miss, and you do not get any assurance that your work is saved or whatever you're saving is saved. So this is how a small, like maybe having this small animation can change things dramatically in terms of user experience. The third point, how you can, what parameters, in terms of parameters, you can use this parameter to differentiate is it a good UX or bad, is constraints. So what is constraints? So the concept of constraints is that determine ways of restricting the kind of user interaction that can take place in a given moment. So by that I mean that already restricting users with the design, or creating a sense through the design that this is how it is going to be used, right? So I'll give you a few very simple examples which you've seen in your regular lives. And these two, I'm sure, like this one is an OTP screen, which we have seen a lot, and this one is a plug where you kind of put in your whatever for things for charging and all. So what do you think in terms of constraint? Are these so these are both like either good or bad? So tell me, like, is this an example of good UX or bad in terms of constraints? If there are comments, you can drop in the comments. If there are comments, let me know, please.
People are saying it's a good example.
Awesome. So that's absolutely right. You're all like smart audience, or you've seen all this before. So anyway, so it's definitely good example of UX because in the OTP one, a user is already constrained. There is a numeric keypad. You know, like if there is going, these are numbers, then you know that you just have to type four. And nowadays, like even on top of that, you get this auto fill kind of thing where it picks from your message and you just have to like select that and it auto fills your code in iOS. So that's like so smooth. You don't even have to type, check your OTP and type here. It's just so smooth that you can quickly do it. And again, like this screen particularly is designed in terms of constraints. Then this one is like this wall outlet. It is designed so that you already know like it's a 3-pin kind of outlet and you know like how it will be put in. So it's just like by seeing it, you don't have to figure it out like how do I do it. It's just very obvious that how will you insert and what kind of plug will go into it. So that's that. Moving on to the fourth feature of good design. It's called mapping. Now, mapping refers to the relationship between controls and their effects in the world. So nearly all artifacts, need some kind of mapping. So when I say control and their effects, I mean that say if there is a button, what will it do? So like before tapping on it, users want to kind of get a feel. With the text also you get a feel, but sometimes you need a little more like kind of idea of what will this do. So that kind of mapping is required when you're thinking or designing something for which can be counted as good UX. So I'll show you again one example which we all have used. It's a screen from WhatsApp. And tell me, like, is it an example of good or bad UX and why? So also, like, tell me why do you think if it's good, why, and if it's bad, why? Like, just in 2-3 words. I mean, not too much, but yeah, if you can put in comments and like just let me know if there are comments.
Okay, so I can see people are saying it's a good example of UX, and I don't see the reason why they are saying it's a good example of UX, but and there are people who are saying that it is a bad UX because it is all black and
I
it's
see.
not that much intriguing and interactive.
Okay. Cool. Okay, so yeah, the ones who are saying good is like, yeah, they're like, oh yeah, WhatsApp is good, because you use it so much, of course it's good design, right? Which is actually true because you're using the product so much, it's well designed, that's why you're using it. And people who are saying it's bad, which could be one of the reasons, it's a dark mode screen I captured and maybe it doesn't work for a lot of you, so that's also valid. But here when I'm talking about mapping, this is a great example of good UX. So why? Let me tell you the reason why. Because what happens is when you type this message and you see this button near this, right? Like now we are so used to it that we know like all the chat apps look like this. You have to type here and tap on this and get sent. But think about it, like WhatsApp was one of the early like messaging apps, which was well designed for mobile. Of course, there were more before that, but it was very well designed for mobile and they brought all of these paradigms. So how did they like figure this one out? So why, I mean, this works so well is when you're typing, you see this big bold button and you see this arrow which tells you that, with this aeroplane sign icon, it tells you that's going to be sent, right? It is derived from the real life metaphor where you send things with a, like just like that arrow, like you send a aeroplane, right? I mean a paper plane. So it's derived from there, and also like the way it is being placed in the layout, you type, it's on the right side, it is more like it is kind of mapped with this entire thing, message box. So that's why it's very obvious for a user that you will type here and you will hit send. And this paradigm now is adopted everywhere in all messaging apps. But it is a great example of mapping, like good mapping, and kind of course, good UX. The last thing I want to talk about is consistency. So consistency refers to designing interfaces which have similar operations. So you design it in similar fashion. Again, I've gotten a screen from WhatsApp, and you can tell me if it's again a good example or a bad, and why. So let's move on, and I'll tell you it's a good example of UX because
People are also
why.
agreeing with you, and they're agreeing that it's a very efficient, good design.
Awesome, awesome. So yeah, I think you're all very smart audience. So it's a good design because what I'm talking about is these floating buttons, which like does different things. When it's on chat tab, it is like for adding a new chat. When it's call, like it's like to create a new call. So it's like any new thing you want to do, this is the button for that. So it's kind of consistent across all tabs. So users will automatically understand what it does. It's not written here, it's not like so obvious with the icon also, but just because this experience is consistent across, it becomes obvious. So again, these are like some of the things you can keep in mind when you start differentiating between what is good user experience, what is bad. Oh, sorry, I have one more, which is affordance. So affordance, what is a term used to refer an attribute of an object that allows people to know how to use it. So basically, when I mean the wall outlet example was also very good affordance example, but here I want to give this another example, which are the toggle buttons. So with toggle buttons, it's somehow so obvious that like here without the color, it's turned off. If you like kind of put your finger here and slide it to the right, like now it's on. So it's just so obvious, like who told you? Nobody told you. It's not written here. But the way it's designed, it has that affordance that people would automatically do that. So these are the things which you have to be smart about and kind of um, design it in certain ways that it's obvious and simple to use. And that's about like all the things you can keep in mind. And since we are running a little short on time, I'll kind of go through this quickly. So after that, you've understood like what good design is, and if you're interested, so you might be having some more myths about UX design generally. So I'd like to cover that. So the first thing is that I'm sure you must be reading so many titles like UX designer, UI designer, product designer, interaction designer, and there are tons of that. So I want to tell you that these titles doesn't matter. I'm sure you must be, if you go across LinkedIn, every company have their own way of what they call a designer, right? But these titles are depending on the organization. The roles and responsibilities of a UX designer is same in every organization. So don't go by the titles. Don't look for an opportunity where it's written product designer versus a UI designer or a UI UX designer, right? Like it's pretty much same. And the real design roles are other these, which are either you could be a UX researcher, a UX designer, a visual designer, or a design engineer. So I'm not going to talk about this in detail right now, but if you have questions about it, you can connect with me or reach out to me later since we are running short of time. And of course, there are more roles like this. The second myth we have is like you think if you're into design, you're done with this. So this is done, like you made a screen and you're done with it. But let me tell you, that's like the first step to designing things when you create something. After that, you have a long journey to cover. So if you've heard about design thinking, great. If you've not, like take some time out and like learn about it. I'm sure some of you have done Google design course, so you must have learned about it. So it's the cycle which says like you start with, firstly when you're designing, you start with empathizing with your users, learning more about them, research. Then you define what you want to do, what you learn from research. Then you create ideas, that how can you solve their problems which you learned, like whatever you learned from research. You create prototype, you create screens to test them, to finally like see how it will work visually, and finally you test them, you show it to your users, you understand is it like something which is solving their problem or not. So this is how it works. And I mean, like if you think say pasta is an innovative product, so what goes behind it is a team of people or a class of design thinking where you experiment, put something, try something, it doesn't work. Maybe let some people taste it. They say, oh, it's not good, add some salt, add whatever. So this is exactly how design works, right? Like a cooking class. So it's, I mean, it's fun, enjoyable, but at the same time, there is no ending to design. Um, Finally, there are myths like you can be alone, but as I showed in the previous example, designers work effectively with researchers, product managers, developers, engineers, and data scientists, even marketing and branding teams, because the product has to be in sync with all this, right? It's not like to be designed in silos. After all, it's like benefiting a business or a company, so you have to work with everyone. As a designer, you cannot be sitting and designing screens on the back behind the screens, right? So finally, I hope you have some doubts cleared by now, and you have like more understanding of what good design versus bad design is, how are products really designed. You must be thinking, can you get a job as a UX designer? Or if you not you, then probably like some of your friends who want to get into it. So let me tell you, like there are, as I already mentioned earlier, that it is a very good time to be in UI UX. So of course, there are tons and tons of open positions. If you look at LinkedIn, I checked and there were like 2000 plus recently. So yeah, I mean, there are tons of like small companies, big companies, medium companies which are hiring for designers, because everyone has realized the value of design. And that's all. So if you're looking to get into design, if you have doubts, questions, reach out to me, and I'll be happy to answer and help you out. I hope this was beneficial, and I took extra 10 minutes, so I'm not going to take any more. But yeah, over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Charu, for such an insightful session. I hope our audience must have got an idea on how to kickstart their journey in UI UX. Vaibhav, I think it's time for the next session since we are tight on schedule. But before that, thank you, Ms. Charu, for joining us and for sharing your valuable insights on UI UX. And we look forward to more such sessions from you in the upcoming days. Thank you once again.
Thank you for having me.
If you folks still have questions regarding UI UX, send us an email to the address contact@gdscwow.tech. I think we'll make sure that it's dropped in the chat, and we'll be happy to assist you regarding your queries. But before we begin, I'd like to direct your attention to the quiz that we have planned. Please take 5 minutes of your time to fill in the answers and submit it.
All the best, everyone.
All the best. Guys, make sure you hurry up. You just have 1 minute left. I hope a lot of you have already completed it, and those of you who haven't, please make sure that you submit it. And that's time's up. Hope you guys got time to submit it. Yes, as I was saying, I think you guys have already submitted the quiz. Just a quick reminder, make sure all of you watching just like the stream, and it's finally time for the session that I think Akansha should
Yeah,
go ahead and like
yeah. So,
introduce.
all right, you folks, it's finally time for the session that all the computer geeks and Spider Man enthusiasts have been waiting for. Yes, you guessed it right. It's time for the session on web.
Way to slide in that Spider-Man reference. Anyway, you heard it right. It's time for our next session, that is Cap to Web by Miss Anuradha Kumari. While you guys keep up the excitement in the chat, I would like Akansha to introduce our speaker.
Yeah, sure. So our next speaker is Miss Anuradha Kumari, a front-end developer working towards making the web accessible one website at a time. She is also a front-end consultant at Passionate People, a Google developer expert for web technologies, Cloudinary media developer expert, Microsoft most valuable professional for developer technologies, and an accessibility advocate.
Thank you, Miss Anuradha, for joining us. We're eagerly looking forward to the session. The stage is all yours.
Thank you, Vaibhav and Akansha, and hi everyone. First of all, I would like to say that props to all the people who are beside this, behind this event, GDSC WOW, and I hope that all the students might be getting a lot out of it. And with that, let me try to share my screen and see what happens. Uh, can you see my screen? Let me know if you can.
No, not yet.
Okay. It seems okay. It seems like my Chrome that's messed up with my privacy, and it has to happen today only. Let me quickly fix that.
Yeah,
Till
sure.
that time, just give me a moment. Screen recording. Interesting.
Okay, so till the time she's coming back, folks, let us know how many of you are already experienced in web.
Yeah, if you guys have done any courses, Google certifications, any experiences, or if you're just a beginner, feel free to talk about it.
Yeah, sure. Also, if you like our sessions today, do like the stream.
Yes, please don't forget to like the stream. We're reminding once again.
Yeah.
And please don't worry, guys. If you're a beginner, you're an expert, it doesn't matter. This session is beginner friendly, so we got you covered. So don't worry.
I can see people have done projects in web. Someone wrote that they had two clients. That's amazing.
That's amazing.
Okay, we have Anuradha back.
Yes, I had to restart my system. And it's
It's fine.
interesting because I recently did do a talk and it did not pose me problem at that time, but today it did. So, anyways, let me quickly share my screen and see. Well, share screen, and sorry for the hiccup, but I hope that we can see the screen now.
Yes, ma'am,
Yeah,
it's
we
visible.
can. Yeah.
Yay! Okay, so let's get started. So I'm going to talk about the roadmap of getting started with web development. So we won't be deep diving into any topic. I will share all the things that you can explore and all the topics which you need to explore in order to get started with web development. Uh, Akansha already covered, so I wouldn't take. But yeah, on Twitter, I am on the handle miracle_404. So if you would like, you can connect with me. And if you have any questions, even after the talk, you can always get to me. And also, I recently started a YouTube channel and where I share about web development. And recently, I've started an accessibility series. So do check it out. Let's get started now. First things first, what exactly is web development, right? So anything which you see on the web, all the websites and applications, web development covers it all. So it can be a very simple website, just a single page with few text on it and some of the images, or it could be very complex, like it could be something like Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, e-commerce website, Flipkart, Amazon, anything. So it could be as simple as it can and it could be as complex as it can. And it can be very static or it can be pretty much dynamic. So if you have content on your websites which is not changing, or you have just some data there which you want to show to the users, like documentation or stuff like that, it could be static. And it could be very, very dynamic as well, like there are lots of interaction happening. There could be lots of animations as well, and so on. So it varies a lot. So there is a broad spectrum of what can you develop using web development. So what can you do and what can you create and share on web? It's a very broad spectrum. There are different types of development which come inside web development. The first is front end development, back end development, and then there is full stack development, in which you can do both of front end as well as back end. And there are multiple other aspects as well. So in simple terms, whatever you can see on that website or application, that would be your front end development. So it would include the content which you have, the images, the data, everything, the design, navigation between different parts of the pages, between different pages. It could be front end. Backend will consist of all the data, where your data is getting stored and what is the logic to process that data and send that to the front end, and where you host your data, all stuff. And then how do they communicate? They communicate via internet. So internet will connect them and it will provide the data from the backend to the front end. Whatever you are doing, so even if you are doing a front end or you are doing a back end or full stack, there are some things that everyone should be aware of. So what is web? Well, you might want to explore first what exactly is web, World Wide Web, and how does the internet works, because everything is happening on the internet. So you might want to have at least a basic understanding of how the internet works. Then This is also very important. Similar to what how does internet work? When you put a URL into your browser address bar and then you hit enter, what will happen? Like how the interaction happens, how your files are getting fetched from the server, and how they are being created. That web page, how is that being created, and look as you can see it. So these are all the things that you might want to explore. So what I have done throughout this presentation, I have put some links which I found which could be helpful for you in exploring these topics. And we will be sharing the slides after the talk, so don't worry at all. And you can go ahead and explore those links and learn more about them. So we are going to today talk mainly about front end, because I'm a front end developer. So I like to say that there are mainly three pillars of front end development. Okay, everything starts with HTML. HTML means hypertext markup language. Then comes the CSS, cascading style sheets, and then comes JavaScript or JS. So this is a visual representation of some sort of in which we can visualize like how they come together to create a web page. So if we talk about human body, the skeleton, the bare bones, they are the HTML. They provide a structure of your body, so they are the HTML. That's the structure on which web pages are built on. Then you add some presentation layer on it, some kind of how it looks, colors and stuff like that, and that is where CSS comes in. You write CSS to provide that presentation layer onto that. And now you need some sort of interaction. All the actions that you do, all the thought processing, all the data and all the actions that you do, that is JavaScript. It adds the interactivity, it adds the dynamic nature to the body. So this is just a high level of representation of how HTML, CSS, and JavaScript work together to make a fully functional website or an application. So let's see about HTML. So for anything which you want to learn, you would like to also explore the official documentation. Always, always, always take some time to explore the official documentation, and because they will always contain the most up-to-date information, because specs keep changing sometimes. So what is HTML? It's a markup language. So we use it to give the structure to our web pages and applications. And so how will you structure it? So there are different tags which you can use to structure your web page. Like there are headers. So header, okay, I need to put the heading tags there. There are footer, you want to put all the footer information there. There is main, there are anchor tags where you want to put your links. There are lists, so there are list elements and all. So these are called semantic tags. Take some time to understand semantic tags, like which tag should be used in what scenario, because normally you can make anything with maybe just div and spans, but while you can make something doesn't mean that you should make something with that, right? So divs and spans we should always use as a fallback, like they are just divisions. A span is just for styling, right? Like you can want to style some of the portion of your content and so on. But when we are structuring our document, we would want to use our semantic HTML tags so that they also have a meaning attached to it and they are better accessible for all the users. Also take some time to understand DOM or document object model. So whenever your web page is created, the browser creates some sort of object model for it, and it contains all the relations and everything. So this is also a very important topic and important to understand, because we also use DOM object in our JavaScript code sometimes. So whenever we are using JavaScript and we try to interact and do some sort of interaction, we end up using DOM. So it's good to understand a bit about DOM. Then CSS, cascading style sheets. So again, it is the presentation layer. You can do all sorts of styling with this. So you can put colors, height, width, borders, background. You can make any shape of the images. You can have different types of layouts and sort. So start with vanilla CSS. Vanilla CSS, basically, you will always hear these terms: vanilla CSS, vanilla JavaScript, and so on. So it means plain CSS, like without any framework or library. Sorry, without any framework or library. So just plain CSS is your vanilla CSS. Start with that. Again, always start with basics. So vanilla CSS is enough to understand a lot. And then once you understand the basics of CSS, how can you style, how can you apply the styling, how to target some of the specific elements in the document, and so on, then there are multiple things which we can explore later. Like there are pre-processors like SAS, or less SAS means syntactically awesome style sheets. What they do, they provide some extra functionality on top of CSS. They make writing of CSS little bit easier because they avoid code duplication and stuff like that. And they also provide something in which we can write more logic in CSS. But always take time first to learn CSS and then move to preprocessors if you want. Again, it is optional. Not if you don't even learn, I don't think that that would make much difference. You can always learn it on your job. Then there are certain design systems. So Angular has a very nice design system, material design, and it's very nice. You should take some time to understand the design system in order to understand that what is the bigger picture whenever we are creating any design or whenever we are implementing any design in our websites and applications. They have a very nice documentation, and you can learn more about the thought process that goes behind it via this. Then there are certain frameworks. I'm sure that you might have heard about Tailwind CSS. So it is again a very good framework which you can use. But then they are the class names which you can use, and then your components get styled in a certain way. It's good, but then again, you don't know what's happening behind it. So always first understand what's happening behind the scenes, and then whenever you are using Tailwind CSS, it becomes little more easier because you know that okay, this class name corresponds to the concept which I have in my head already about CSS. So these are some of the things which you can do about CSS. Then JavaScript. So JavaScript is like one of the most popular programming languages in the world, I would say, and like we use it heavily on web, like the programming language of web or something like that. But yeah, so we use JavaScript for dynamic behavior, and we can do a lot with it. So when you start exploring it, you can see that we can do a lot with JavaScript. But everything that we do with JavaScript boils down to two different things: data and functions. So JavaScript has data and it has functions. So we have data and we write functions to manipulate that data, to do some sort of actions on that data. So this is what it is about JavaScript. There are lots of concepts in JavaScript, and it's little bit different than some of the other languages which we might have learned in our college, like Java, C sharp, and C, so on. So it's little bit different. So it's very important again to understand the basics of JavaScript here. Once you understand the basics, any framework or any library on top of JavaScript will become fairly easier. So before moving to libraries and frameworks, there is one more thing which is very important. These are called browser APIs. So JavaScript does a lot of things. We can do a lot of things with JavaScript, but JavaScript alone does not do it. So there are certain APIs which are exposed by the browser, and JavaScript uses them. So they are built into the browser, and we use JavaScript to interact with the browser using these APIs. And some of these are again DOM, document object model. Using that, we can interact with the those document elements. Then web storage APIs. So like you might be using local storage, session storage, stuff like that. So that is web storage API, which is a browser API. Fetch, which is used to get resources from the server. Then there are console APIs, which like you might be writing console.log when you are debugging all the times in the code. And what is it? It is again a browser API. There are lots more of it, and you can always find this on the MDN or on the official documentation. So take some time to understand this, because some of the times we don't know that what is part of JavaScript and what is not. And most of the times people have this like notion that these are all actually part of JavaScript, but it's not like that. And once we understand that what is part of JavaScript and what are browser APIs, we will also be able to understand some of the complex topics in JavaScript, like callback events and so on. So they become little more clear once we understand the separation and how the interaction happens. So yeah, take some time, good time, to explore more about JavaScript. Then there are different JavaScript libraries and frameworks in the world. Like, actually, there are lots more. I couldn't list every one of them, but I listed some of those which are very popular. You can pick any one of them. So like there are libraries like React, Vue, Svelte. There are frameworks like Angular. Then there is Next.js, which is React framework. There is Nuxt.js, which is Vue framework. There is also SvelteKit, which I haven't mentioned here. Then there are also Preact and Ember. So here I would like to just say one thing: do not stick to just one framework or library. Like if you want, you can try one, and if you don't like it, don't feel like you are stuck with that. You can always explore the next framework or next library. How you should pick it up, again, a suggestion. Feel free to do what you would like to do, but what I like to suggest is that also take into account what are like most popular libraries and frameworks. Like, where would I get a job? Because getting a job is also very important, right? So you are all students, you want to get graduated and then get a job. So we also want to see that which technologies have more job opportunities, and also they have more what do you say, different learning materials. Like you would want to have learning materials in order to explore them. So these are some of the things which you might want to explore and see what's best fit, and also what you like doing, what you enjoy learning and working on. That definitely is a big factor. So some things which are very, very important for any web page or website whenever we are building them. And these are irrespective of any library or any framework that you are using. These are applicable to any website or application that you build. First of the things is accessibility. Accessibility is very important because a lots of people in this world are disabled, and there are lots of people who are struggling, and we need to make sure that whatever we are creating for all the user, and we are not blocking anyone out of this. So take some time to understand about it, to learn about accessibility, to understand about disability, to understand how they interact with the web, and then make sure that whatever we build is accessible by everyone. Performance is very much important, because if I want to create something, I want the users to use it, right? So if my website takes like 30 seconds or 50 seconds to load, I'm not sure how many people will wait for that much time to just access that website, right? So performance is also very important. Take some time to understand what are the pitfalls, like how we can write unoptimized code which can lead to bad performance, and then what sort of optimizations we can apply so that we make a high performant website. Security is again a very important topic, because lots of security incidents keep happening. You would read a lot about it every day. So it's again very important, and there are lots of security incidents which happen maybe because of some of the code glitches as well. So it's good to understand a bit about security as well, so that we know that we are not making our websites less secure. Then, okay. So whatever I said, so you could see that there are lots of things that you need to learn, lots of things that you need to explore, right? So whenever you are going through any tutorial or any documentation, any video or anything, make sure that you also practice it. Code it, like just don't read it or uh, do like that. So go through it, code it on your own, and then you will get to know that what are the different things that you will need to take care of in order to make it up and running. So practice is the key. Keep on practicing. Now, you want to code. I said that, yeah, code it, practice it, but where would you want to code? Well, like, where do you write code? There are multiple ways. But the easiest way to get started is Notepad. If you feel that you don't have any other resources as well, then use any code editor, any integrated development environment for it. Like one of the examples, which is free and available, is VS Code. Then, if you don't want to install any software, you can also use something which is available online, like there are Code Sandbox, Code Pen. What you can do, you can go there, create a new sandbox, and you can write code and you can see the results there itself. And also, you can have those URLs which you can share with everyone. So that is also a very nice way of start writing code. Where to put your code? So now you have set up everything on your laptop, you are writing some code, you are making some good things. Where would you want that code to be? Just on your system? What happens if system fails, like maybe hard disk failure or something? Then your code is gone, right? So you wouldn't want to rely just storing it on your system. So what do? So I would just always host your code in some cloud hosting platforms, like there is GitHub, and GitHub is one of the most popular. I'm sure that most of you might have a GitHub account already. If not, create a GitHub account and put your code there, put all your repositories there. You always have an option of the visibility. You can make it public or you can make it private, so that's totally fine. And this way, what happens that if someday nowadays the recruiters are asking for your a working sample, maybe they ask for your code, some of your repositories, so they want to know that what are your coding, how do you write code, stuff like that. So if you already have some code on GitHub, you can share it with them, so it also serves that purpose. Managing the code, so this is also very important. So for that, you can use some sort of version control system, which is like whenever I am pushing the code or whenever I am saving the code, I know that I can still check what was the previous version of that code. So Git is a version control system and you can use it. So take some time to understand some of the concepts of Git, some of the commands of Git, because you will be using this a lot when you are working on any project in any company. Most of the companies will be using Git. So this will be very, very helpful for you in the future, like every day. So this is one of the things which you would like to explore again. Then deploy your code. So this is again very important, because once you have created something nice, like you have created a very nice project and you want to share it with others, so how do you share it? You can't give someone a local host, like local host link, right? So but I mean, nowadays things have become very much accessible to everyone, because there are multiple platforms like Netlify, Vercel, Cloudflare Pages, and GitHub Pages. So what you can do here is you can choose that this is the GitHub repository I want, and I want to deploy my code. And they will deploy your code and give you a working example. Like they will give you a website link, and that link will contain all the result of your code, right? The working website. And that is so nice, because I do use this and make these deploy this for all of your projects, because this will really come in handy again when someone asks to show you a portfolio. So you can create a portfolio with all the projects that you have made and put all the links there, and then you can share it. It will really make a difference, and you can share these with everyone. What else? So testing is one of the things which is very much important. Yes, we write code, we write lots of code, but we need to also test our code. I'm not talking about manual testing and a QA and all the automation testing jobs. Yes, as a front-end developer, I'm trying to say that we also need to test our code. Whenever we write a logic, we need to test if our logic is working properly or not, and unit tests are one of the ways of testing our code. There is also integration test. So you might want to explore some of the testing mechanism as well. Currently, Jest is one of the most of famous testing, like it's for React, and for Angular also there are testing mechanisms for every library and framework I think we have. So do make sure that you also understand some of these concepts and some of the ways in which we can test our code. Debugging is very important. So like as a front end developer, I guess you write code for maybe 10 to 20% of your day. So what else we do for the other times? Like like we literally have to read the code, understand the code which everyone else has written. We are solving issues. There is a bug which came and I never worked on that module, but I need to fix that bug. So I need to first understand what the module does, what the code does. So all these is done by reading the code, by debugging the code to understand. So debugging is one of the most powerful things uh, to learn and to practice actually. So as a front end developer, it's really really very important actually. As a developer, not even front end, so you are front end, back end, it will you will have to debug a lots of code. So make sure that you learn some of the ways in which we can debug our code. Dev tools, so browser dev tools are one of the ways in which you can debug your code and also understand a lot about your code and about the output. So this is kind of a screenshot of a DevTools. So this is Chrome DevTools basically. So here you can see the once you land on, if you go to any websites and do Control Shift I, or you right click and say inspect this page, then you will come across this DevTools. Now these DevTools have different panels, and like we have Elements tab. In Elements tab, you will see all the structure of your HTML, and you will also see the styles on the right of this. And then in the console, all the console logs and different things you write on, even if some errors or warnings come, they are all logged into this console tab. There is network tab. In network tab, you will see all sort of network interactions happening. There is also performance, and there is a lighthouse also, which I can't see here, but yeah, in which you can run reports for accessibility, performance, SEO, best practices, and everything. So there is a lots of things in this dev tools, and it's a very good thing to understand and to learn and to how to use this, because this will make you really really powerful and a better developer. So take some time to understand that. Whatever you are learning, you can learn in public as well. Again, these are optional because I know that not everyone likes to put them out in public, but if you can try it. So join some of the communities, like there are Google developer groups and there are meetups in which multiple focused on different tech skills. So whatever tech skills you want to learn, you can definitely go ahead and join those meetups and go to the events and conferences and learn a lot, because people always are giving talks and sharing information what they are learning. And so it's a good way of learning and also meeting new people and learning from their experience. 100 days of code, this is one community specifically which I really like, which is on Twitter as well, by hashtag 100 days of code, wherein what people do that they take up 100-day challenge and they code every day and share their experiences, learnings on the go. And it really makes a difference because you are sharing what you are learning and you are also reading what others are learning, so you learn from each other. So it's basically very nice. You can also share your journey, you can blog about it, you can create videos, you can start giving talks like I'm giving now, right? So you can do all lots of stuff and learn in public, share your experience, and it will really enrich your experience. So again, this is optional, but it will really help you grow better. So take a chance if you want and see how it goes. General tips. So some tips, again, there is a lots to learn, there are lots of technologies. So whenever you are learning, please give yourself time. Don't think that you have to do everything in one day, and do not compete with anyone else that I mean, how are they doing so good? Why can't I do, like I also need to do it fast and just go on doing. Don't compete and don't don't feel bad. Also, don't beat yourself up. Just give yourself time. Everyone has a different speed and a different timing of doing stuff. So yeah, just give yourself time. Focus on basics, please. This is really really very important. I think I have told this multiple times now and I will say it again. Focus on basics. It will really help. Always keep learning. The web is constantly evolving. There are lots of new things coming, and as I'm speaking, I don't know if there is a new library that has been someone created. And so you never know, new tools, libraries, frameworks are getting created, new ways are coming up. So there's lots of stuff happening. So again, I don't say that go and whatever new comes up you have to take it up and learn. No, don't do it like that. But always be open, like be flexible, be open, that even if, let's say, I am a React developer, but tomorrow if I see that I find a better opportunity in Angular and I feel that yes, that is something which I want to learn, I will definitely go and learn and explore. So keep that learning mindset and be flexible with everything. So some of the resources which we can use are there is this front end masters roadmap which I really like. I think, okay, this is not open right now, but yeah, so you can go through this. This is a very extensive roadmap. There are lots of links and lots of paths. You don't have to go through everything. Just choose which you want and which you want to focus on and explore the resources which they have given. It's a very nice roadmap. Then Free Code Camp is a website where they have lots of things which you can learn from. They also provide certifications. They also have projects which you can do and build your portfolio. They also have a YouTube website where they have very nice beginner friendly content. So I really like Free Code Camp a lot. So check it out and see if it suits your need. So a while ago, Ankit, which is a fellow GDE, and so we collaborated to create a YouTube video where we talk about beginner's guide to web development. So where we talk a little bit like similar things. So if you want, you can go check it out. There are multiple resources in that as well, which we have discussed. So the slides we will be sharing here, and also if you want, you can scan this QR code and or go to the link anuradhakumari/talks. So I always put my slides there after the talk, and there is also a feedback form there. So I always request everyone that give me feedback, like if you found that some topics were missing or you wanted something else that I could speak up, or something that you like, so feel free to give your feedback and I will take them into account for sure. So that would be all. Thanks a lot. It was very nice presenting to you, and I hope that it was helpful to you all, and enjoy the rest of the event. So do we have any questions, like Akansha, Weber?
Yes, I think that was one very interesting session, and I am sure everyone got a lot to learn. Since we are running short on time, we'll make sure that all of them submit the questions to an email ID, and we'll get them clarified.
Yeah. So thank you, Miss Anuradha, for taking out time from your busy schedule. It was really one of the amazing sessions we had today. We thoroughly enjoyed it, and we look forward to hosting you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
once
you.
again for having me. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. All right, folks, there's a gift from our title sponsor, which is Geeks for Geeks. They are giving rupees 300 coupon, which is 100% redeemable. The code is in the chat, so surely have a look at it. I'll make sure that the link to the courses are also linked. At checkout, please enter the code GFGWOW GDSC 22. All the details will be dropped in the chat soon. Before we move on to our next session, I would like to remind you guys that you're still free to drop in any queries you have up till now and send it to us at contact@gdscwow.tech. I'll make sure that email is also dropped in the chat, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Okay, so before we completely wrap up the web session, Weber, are we forgetting something?
I think so.
Okay, so we have one last activity planned. Please go ahead and fill in the quiz that we have shared. You have 5 minutes to complete the task. All the best.
All the best. Just a quick reminder, you guys have 1 minute. For those of you who filled, good luck. And for those of you still filling up, please hurry up. You guys have 45 seconds left.
Okay, so thank you so much, folks, for filling out the quiz. I hope you were able to complete it on time. So let's start with the last session of the day. We hope to see the same level of excitement in this session as well.
Now, moving on, I would like to invite our esteemed speaker, Ms. Usha Raju. She's a principal data scientist and a founder at Neuro AI. With over 10 years of industrial experience, she is recognized as the top 10 women data scientists in India 2021. She's also the organizer of TensorFlow User Group Mysore and GDC Mysore. She's here with us today to talk about the relation between human and machine. We're extremely delighted to have you here. The stage is all yours, Miss Usha.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah,
Yes,
yes,
ma'am,
you are
you're
audible.
audible.
Yeah. Yeah, the slides, these are my slides. I've shared it in the chat window. I thank all the organizers first for giving me an opportunity to be part of this great event, well organized by GDSCs to Students Club across the country. Keep up the good work. And today's session is about a roadmap to getting started with machine learning. So, machine learning and data science has been a dream for a lot of people. A lot of people want to get into this industry, and what is the roadmap to get started with the machine learning. You can also follow me at Twitter at Rendaraju. Yeah, a quick roadmap on this may not be one size fit all for everyone. A quick roadmap on what is the basic necessities to get started is uh, the best way to get started is starting with mathematics. A lot of people go for the shortcut. They learn programming and then learn mathematics at the end whenever it fits them. That's also okay. But mathematics is the core to machine learning. It's good if you get a strong understanding of mathematics before you dive into the other areas. In mathematics, the areas which you need to focus are linear algebra, calculus, probability, and statistics. And out of these four components, if you do not have sufficient time, then statistics is the most important thing. You need to have very very strong experience in statistics. And I'll also be giving the good resources according to me, which has worked out for most of my students to get started towards the end. And so these four components forms the mathematics component. It's very important to understand and grasp the fundamentals of mathematics if you want to venture into a research related career in machine learning. If you're not venturing into research related area, then you don't require that kind of a strong level of advanced mathematics, but at least a basic mathematics should be sufficient enough. When it comes for programming, there are a lot of languages which you need to be out there, but Python is used by majority of the industries. Around 95% of the industries they use Python. So if you have to pick one language, if you do not have sufficient time, then I would highly recommend get strong with Python. And if you love languages and if you would like to dabble with a different language, then you can choose R as well. Outside this programming languages, you should also get comfortable with data structures, the general concepts of data structures. Web scraping is a very, very important part, because a lot of data out there is out there is scattered across, and you'll have to do a lot of web scraping for sure. And data collection, it's the main component of any data science process, so that can be extremely intimidating if you do not have a strong programming background. So strong programming background is must, and whatever resource fits you well to master your programming, be it leak code or whatever, gigs for geeks, or whatever resource fits you well to practice programming really well, choose that. Once you're strong with programming, then you can get started with the fundamentals of machine learning. So there are a lot of good resources to get started with fundamentals of machine learning, how a data science process works, what are the general algorithms in machine learning, what are the mathematics behind each of these machine learning, and how do you process data, how do you do pre-processing, how do you do feature engineering. These are all the general concepts of machine learning. And one of the key differentiators in your machine learning data pipeline is going to be the feature engineering. When it comes for machine learning, feature engineering plays a very, very crucial role. One of the distinctive features between deep learning and machine learning is machine learning, you will have to give manual features, you will have to create manual features. So feature engineering plays a very, very crucial part in your machine learning journey. It's also good to have very good data visualization skills. So you should get comfortable with Python libraries like Matplotlib or Seaborn, or any of the other fancy visualization tools like D3JS and stuff. And if you are going to be a customer facing data scientist, then you should also be familiar with Tableau or Power BI, because when you have to prepare a lot of dashboards and reports, Tableau is the preferred tool. Nobody prefer no I mean, you can also build dashboards and reports using NumPy C1, but then Tableau is a preferred tool for preparing, or Power BI. Either of these tools are most preferred tools in the industry for preparing dashboards and reports. And finally, deployment plays a huge role. A lot of candidates these days, where I see, they do not have strong knowledge on deployment. So having a good knowledge on Flask or Django, or any of the cloud platforms, GCP, and learning how to deploy your machine learning models can give you an edge. So these are some of the important things which I would recommend for getting started with your machine learning journey. I'll be unboxing each of these once again, and I'll be sharing you what is the best resource for learning each of this. And all the resources which I'll be sharing are available free of cost. And so anyone can get started, with their machine learning journey absolutely for free. And one of the key important things is having a learning mindset. And so there's a lot of things which you need to learn. Sometimes you might have to pick up a domain knowledge, because sometimes a problem statement might be closely linked with a domain knowledge. So if you have to do a better feature engineering, it's recommended that you understand the problem statement really well. So one example I would give you is, last year there was a Women in Data Science Datathon, which was held by Stanford University. So the problem statement is to identify if a patient has got type 2 diabetes or not. So for this particular problem statement, there were 181 features collected from each patient, and these features were collected 24 hours before the patient is admitted to ICU. So if you see all these variables, these are clinical variables, and if you want to do efficient feature engineering, then you might have to understand the domain knowledge really well. So there's a lot of things which you need to pick up, and developing a learning mindset was very, very crucial. And so it's sometimes anything which you learn will help you at some point of life. I love learning courses, and a few years back I started taking a lot of courses in psychology, neuroscience, and offbeat topics as well, and all these topics are now very very useful for me. Now when I sit as a client facing data scientist in manufacturing or semiconductors or telecommunication, different domains, those courses which I had taken long time back really helps me a lot. So equip yourself with and knowledge from the unexpected domain areas. It might be helpful for you. When you have a strong domain knowledge, it's definitely helpful. It's not mandatory to have a strong domain knowledge, but it can give you an edge. And not everything fits for some kind of pattern of learning, or some kind of a roadmap might fit for certain people. That roadmap might not fit for certain other people. So find out your own roadmap which will fit well for you, and always plan one step ahead. And so even if there are some kind of unexpected things which happens, you're still on your track. So these are some of the suggestions which I have. And one more thing, if you see, the technological landscape is always changing. So 2008, there was something which was hot. SAP has been very, very hot technology during 2008. Java in the early 2000s, Java was hot. And then, data engineering was big data, and all these technologies were hot. And then now the machine learning, data science. So this ever changing technological landscape, the only way you can keep up with this landscape is to develop passion for learning. There's no way the skills which you learn now might become irrelevant after a few years. So if you develop a passion for learning, and maybe that can help you survive anything. And so it's very important to survive the ever changing technological landscape. And one more thing, which I would recommend, is a lot of students these days learn all the theoretical aspects from several open source courses out there. But what they actually lack is the experience in projects, experience in real world projects. And so a lot of students apply for internships, but many of them don't get to. And so for those students who don't get to the internship, one of the advice which I would give is go seek out for volunteering positions. Check out your the area which you live. There are a lot of government officials which might require help. The government collects a lot of data, but they do not have volunteers to get insights of these data. It could be your local police station, or your local collectorate office, or your any other government agencies which has huge volumes of data, but they may not actually pay for your internship, but it's still, you are getting access to real-time data, and you have an opportunity to work with one of the most prestigious organizations. So reach out for these opportunities. You can also reach out to your own professors asking for projects. Reach out to these avenues, and build your good portfolio of projects. Because no matter how many certifications you have, it's the real world experience and the projects which matters the most. And some of the recommended resources, which for the earlier roadmap which I mentioned, all these resources which I've listed out here are the free open source resources. So if you take linear algebra, so some of my favorite playlists for linear algebra is the blue three blue one brown series. So the best part of three blue one brown series is they have got amazing visualizations. So they teach each and every concept through these visualizations. It's one of the recommended resources for learning linear algebra. And one more thing is, the number of modules are just 16 modules, and each of it is just 12 to 13 minutes long. So it is very short as well. In short time you'll get most important concepts. So this is one resource which I would highly recommend for learning linear algebra. Outside this, there's also something called freecodecamp.org. Again, this is a free tutorial series on YouTube. They also have a 11-hour course on linear algebra. This is something which you can try out if you want a much bigger course. And so these two are some of the resources which I would recommend for linear algebra. For calculus, again, I would recommend there's a calculus series in three blue, one brown series as well. And Udemy has got a very good course on calculus as well, A to Z course on calculus. So it's something which you can reach out for, you can take if you want more on calculus. And for probability, I would highly recommend a course from University of Zurich in Coursera. It is one of the best courses for probability I have ever come across. Again, if you want to learn courses in Coursera, you don't have to buy out the course. You can also order the course for free as well. So outside that, free YouTube tutorial which I would highly recommend for probability is the Khan Academy one, which is good enough. It is just 41 tutorials. It will cover the basics of probability. And for statistics, my favorite tutorial is the StatQuest with by Josh Chammer, and it is covering all the basic fundamentals of statistics. Again, Josh Chammer has got a very beautiful way of explaining through animations and visualizations. It's a very compact tutorial. It teaches you all you need to know about the fundamentals of statistics. Unless and until you're getting into a research position or your job involves reading a lot of research papers or you have to write a lot of research papers, these things are more than sufficient. But if you are getting a position as a research engineer or you want to do your master's, PhD, and that is your aim, then I would highly recommend the open source MOOCs available from MIT. And so MIT has got open source MOOC on linear algebra by Gilbert Strang, and they also have excellent tutorials, free courses on YouTube for probability, statistics, and calculus as well. So the mathematics from the MIT Open MOOC courses are the ones I highly recommend if you're venturing out into research positions or if you want to get a job or if you want to do a PhD or if you want to venture into the research space, then the MIT courses are something which I would recommend. If you're not getting into research, then I think the resources mentioned here are more than sufficient. And for machine learning, you have the Google's own course, Machine Learning Cash Course, which is quite compact and which teaches you all the basics of machine learning required, and it's absolutely free of cost. So you can, this is my first go to resource for anyone. Uh, the next thing which I would highly recommend is Kaggle's Learn. So Kaggle is a machine learning platform. Again, a machine learning community platform which where a lot of competitions are hosted. It also provides you a lot of micro courses, ranging from Python, SQL, data visualization. You also have ethics, deep learning, feature engineering course, and all that. And all of these micro courses are absolutely free of cost, and you also can get a free certificate of completion from these courses. And so these courses are more than enough for you to get started with Kaggle. So this is also one of my recommended course. And outside this, there's one Coursera course which I would highly recommend. This is a machine learning specializations from University of Washington, and you have the courses. It's a 4 course specialization. It is taught from both the industry and the academia, and this is something. This has been one of my favorite specializations in Coursera, and so this is something which I would recommend because it has a more of a hands-on based approach, and so it has the right amount of theory and the right amount of hands-on. So this is my recommendation for machine learning. And so these are some of the courses which I would recommend. Outside this, Kaggle is a great platform for you to practice and hone your machine learning skills. So if you see, I'll just quickly walk you through Kaggle as well. So you can follow me on Kaggle at U Rengaraju. So my name is Tensor Girl on Kaggle. So if you can just paste my profile here, so you can go and follow me on Kaggle. And follow me on Twitter as well. If you want to keep up with updates on any notebooks which I write and all that, you can follow me on Twitter here. So here about the Kaggle, you can create a Kaggle account in just 1 or 2 minutes. You just require a Gmail account. If you have Gmail account, you can click on the register button and just create an account in Kaggle within a minute or two. And Kaggle has several sections, like you have data sets. Kaggle recently has 100,000 data sets. So that's a huge amount of data sets. If you're looking for data sets with regards to your project, you can always search the name of the data set and you will find them mostly. So all the data sets in Kaggle are Apache 2 license. And then you also have the code sections. For example, if you want to, as a part of your work, if you want to write a notebook on a certain topic, then you can first come here and search for the code. And you can also, if you want to share any knowledge and get feedback from a huge community like Kaggle, then that's also something which you can do. And you also have discussions here. You have general, getting started, product feedback, questions. You have several discussion forums which you can make use of to ask questions, and you can also answer other people's questions. Then courses is something which I had already given an introduction about. And outside this, you also have competitions. And competitions, I would highly recommend getting started with the knowledge based competitions. If you're a beginner, you can start with something like Titanic. Now there's a recent competition which is being launched, which is Spaceship Titanic. You can also check this out. These are knowledge based competitions which will get you a strong hold of these concepts. Then you can go for the prize money competitions. So for knowledge based competitions, you don't have to know anything in advance. All the code samples are given here. There are more than 10,000 code samples for Titanic. You also can ask discussions in discussion forums. You can also go and help others in discussion forums. So first get started with knowledge based competitions, and once you're very strong with it, then you can start with the prize money competitions. And always have only one account in Kaggle, because having multiple accounts in Kaggle is illegal. So don't have multiple accounts in Kaggle. And Kaggle is a great way to practice your machine learning skills and build some good projects as well. And outside this, if you want to get into internship, projects is very, very crucial. So no matter how many theoretical courses you learn, finally the recruiters are more interested in knowing how you adapted this theoretical knowledge into real world projects. So to try to find some unique themes to build your own projects. So projects plays a crucial role in hiring. And for internship search, it can be an exhaustive process. I was hiring 2 months back, and for like one position, I had like 87 resumes being sent, and sometimes for two or three positions, there are 600, 700 resumes coming. It's not that some candidate is better than other. There are a lot of candidates who are equally good. And so internships can be a very daunting process to get selected and all that. Do not give up. If you're not getting selected even in 10, 15 interviews, it doesn't mean you're bad. The competition is very hectic, very packed these days. And so do not give up and keep searching. And if you're not able to make it at all, then you can find your own projects and build your good have a good portfolio of projects as well. uh, so these are some of my recommendations. And some of the ways you can reach out is, first shortlist the list of companies which you are interested. So for example, even in machine learning, if you're interested in certain domains, maybe you're interested in retail, or maybe you're interested in manufacturing and things, first shortlist what are the startups which are in those areas, and then you can connect with the founders or CEOs of those startups and reach out to them, share your resume and ask for an opening or ask for a referral and things like that. Some of the very, very important use cases for machine learning is fraud detection. It could be credit card fraud detection, or then securing and managing customer data, what is the lifetime value prediction of a customer segmentation, creating a recommendation based personalization system is one of the very, very important projects out there. And the marketing people might be interested in analyzing customer behavior, market insights. These are some of the use cases, ideas for you to get started. Recommendation systems particularly is a very good use case. You can see a lot of its applications in e-commerce. And you'll find, you can take any e-commerce website like Walmart, or Big Basket, or Swiggy, you can take Ola, or all these e-commerce companies and transportation companies. They use recommendation systems a lot, and so it's important to become familiar with it. So you can take up projects in some of these use cases, which closely mimic the real world industry use case, and so that you can build your portfolio of projects around these use cases, which will give you a good you know uh, that might get you land you a better job and things like that. And so finally we have come to the end of the session. So if you have any questions on roadmap to getting started with machine learning, then please do shoot.
Thank you, Miss Usha, for inspiring us today. Thank you for sharing those insightful resources. Our audience must have learned a lot from you. We really appreciate you joining us amidst your busy schedule, and we are really grateful to have hosted you. And we look forward for more of your sessions in the future. Thank you once again.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you, and yeah, take care. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, and well organized team, and keep up the great work, organizer. And wishing you all the best for the future sessions as well. Take care. Yeah, bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. All right. You guys know the tradition. Time to test you on the session that you had so far. As always, you get 3 minutes to fill in the quiz and submit, and your time will start anytime soon.
All the best.
All the best. I think, folks, that's your time. I hope you got time to fill in the questions. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. So, all right. That was all the sessions we had for day one. We hope you got to learn and enjoy it along with us. It was a pleasure hosting you folks, but before you leave, there is one last thing that we would like to bring your attention to.
that's right. How could we send you without the details about the treasure hunt? I'm sure all of you have gotten you clues and are excited to know about your surprises. Please make sure to fill out the forms that you must have received from the last clue and submit it in the next 10 to 15 minutes to be eligible for the surprises. But hold on, there is more exciting news. Yes, of course, it's about the giveaway. Already, a number of you have shared about the event and tagged us in your stories. And if your story has been reshared by us, then you'll be receiving a special surprise from our side. And for those of you whose story hasn't been reposted, don't lose hope just yet. Keep sharing, spreading the word, and don't forget to tag GDSC WOW and use the hashtag GetSetWoW because the show isn't over yet.
Yeah. All right, folks, that's it from our side. This has been a wonderful session so far, and we will take your leave now. Stay safe, have a good night, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye, guys.